had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
It's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions.
Keyboard Cat, Hamilton the Pug, and Toast Meets World. These are some of the internet's most beloved pets, and they all have one thing in common. Their stories started in a shelter. Start your story. Adopt a dog or cat today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org to find a pet near you. Training that pet to play the keyboard, that's optional. Start a story. Adopt a shelter or rescue pet today. Brought to you by Maddie's Fund, the Humane Society of the United States, and the Ad Council.
Okay, what are you wearing right now?
Nothing.
That's right. So mommy's going to teach you how to dress yourself. Underwear always comes first, name tag at the back, then pants, then shirt. Get the first button in the right hole or you have to start all over. Socks going first, then shoes, right on right, left on left. With shoelaces, just take the ends, cross them over, switch the loops, the rabbit goes down the hole, pull tight, and you're left with bunny ears. Got it? Why are your pants on your head?
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush their teeth is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain. Visit 2min2x.org to find out more. A message from the Partnership for Healthy Mouths, Healthy Lives, and the Ad Council.
How's it going? I'm having a stroke. Are you going to shake my hand? I'm having a stroke. Wow, you're not even moving your arm. I'm having a stroke.
When someone is having a stroke, they may not be able to say it with words, but their body language will tell you loud and clear. Look for FAST. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911 immediately. Know the sudden signs. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
The storks are bringing me a baby brother. We can do this together.
All right, let's go.
Storks know how to keep kids safe. Do you?
What?
Oh my gosh, you don't know.
I know.
You don't. Oh man, you laugh when you're uncomfortable.
No.
Making sure your child is in the right car seat is one of the steps to safer travel.
I will rock this.
You will rock this.
To know for sure that your child is in the right car seat for their age and size, visit safercar.gov/the right seat.
Cool. Very cool.
Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Councel.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem Sports Talk is on the iMedia One Network, Western Reserve Radio, Western Reserve Radio 2, and City View Sportscast.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Nina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard, or call 234-254-8532.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio, take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
It's time to kick back and listen to the sports page with your host, Pat Lucia, right here on Western Reserve Radio. You can call the show at 330-707-4202 and tell everyone what's on your mind in the wonderful world of sports. Now, here's your host, Pat Lucia.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. Get in and talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here. Here is Western Reserve Radio, Dave Clark. A lot to get to in the wonderful world of sports. We have the NCAA bracket, the bubble teams. The NFL free agency is definitely obviously heating up. Everybody's still waiting on Aaron Rodgers to decide what are you going to do, because whatever Aaron Rodgers does will obviously determine what Russell Wilson's going to do. Potentially, we're going to get into what are the Atlanta Falcons going to do with Kirk Cousins. Now, word is that they're going to keep him as the backup for Penix, and they're not going to release him. But I was looking at the money. If they do release him, there's so many $1 million they can save under the cap, but then they get the dead cap hit if they release him. So wait and see what happens. But whatever, I think they're trying to trade him, was what I think they would like to do. But then there's teams, I think, like the Giants, who are right now outside looking in. I'm convinced Aaron Rodgers isn't going to the Giants. Why would he go to that team? They're not going anywhere. I think Rodgers would at least go to a team that can compete for a playoff and a Super Bowl, i.e. probably the Steelers. Would be my guess. Or the Vikings now. They're throwing Rodgers could be going to the Vikings. So we have that decision to make, or he has that decision to make, is which team is he going? It looks like Steelers, Vikings, or the Giants. I kind of rule the Giants out, but you never know. And then obviously the Vikings will roll out Kyle McCarthy. Obviously, we talked last week about Darnold going to the Seahawks now. And then Justin Fields signed a 2-year deal with the New York Jets. So he's got it was a $40 million deal, $30 million guaranteed. So he'll be there 2 years, probably figuring he'll be there a year, see if he can play himself into a big contract, or he'll be a free agent again and test the market depending on what the Jets do. Mm-hmm. So we got that. Other stuff out there. Mikael Becton signed with the Chargers. So the Chargers have upgraded their offensive line, which I didn't know this was one of the worst offensive lines in the league. They grade these each lineman out, and they were at the bottom of the barrel, sort of to speak, the Charger line. So maybe if they get a better line, Herbert will at least play a little bit better, especially in the playoff game, which he absolutely did not play well.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think he just had one of those games he wasn't on.
And
the offensive line wasn't that bad. They started out like a house of fire, and then they just fizzled out. couldn't get nothing going.
No.
But yeah, I know they're inward inline guys. The guard center was weak. They tackle that they just got out of college a couple years ago. I think he graded out good. And that maybe the other tackle, but I think they lost one. Now they didn't lose the other guy because I'm sure he's still on his rookie contract.
Right.
I can't think of his name. I know he came from the Big Ten. Might have been Iowa or somewhere, but that's there at
the Chargers.
Yeah, the Chargers. Slater?
It was Slater. Yeah.
Okay,
was he hurt though? I think
he got hurt too. He played some, then he got hurt.
He got hurt,
and I know that's a big time guy.
He was a good, yeah.
So I think that they proved that Becton was able to basically resurrect his career with the Eagles and playing in that
guard.
As a guard. So maybe he could do the same for Harbaugh. And Harbaugh wants to run the ball, and he's got the right back too in free agency with Najee Harris.
Right.
So you got a physical back, physical offensive line. That's the type of ball he likes. So I think it blends right in there. It's good that the Eagles had a lot of depth on their offensive line. That's what they've been doing for some years now, probably 4 to 5 years straight. Offensive and defensive line, they always have pretty good depth. So I just think they got to replenish it some more. But it's gonna be definitely interesting. I like that. And I like the Bears too. They wasn't playing around with upgrading their offensive line. They were serious about it. They went out and got some guys in free agency that were rated pretty good offensive linemen and signed them all. I think it was like three linemen. They already had one that know the graded good. So, you throw in another one here or there, and they'll be set this year.
Yeah, looking at speaking of that, the Chicago Bears. Yeah, they actually, if you look at their line, they basically pretty much, at least up the middle, they changed it. Jonah Jackson they acquired in the trade with the LA Rams, and they had to give up a 6th round pick. And he in turn signed a 1-year contract extension, $5.25 million. Then they traded for Joe Tooney from the Kansas City Chiefs for a 4th round pick. And then they went out and signed Drew Dahlman to a 3-year center, Drew Dahlman, 3-year, $42 million contract, $28 million guaranteed.
And their tackle was all pro.
Right. Grady Jarrett, they signed Grady Jarrett, defensive tackle. Another 3-year deal, $43 million. And then they've signed their linebacker. His first name is Amen. I don't know how to say his last name. It starts with an O. O-G. I guess it's Ogbong Bianga, I think. And I apologize.
I don't know if he's from Jackson. I forgot where he's from. Houston? I don't know where he came from.
Yeah, he is a 2-year, $5 million deal. And then the safety, Scott Daly, do a 1-year deal. So, he I have to look up where he was from last year, but he is now the linebacker for the Chicago Bears. So they actually did a pretty good job with especially the line, which was a problem for them last year. Caleb Williams obviously running for his life at times, not getting the protection he really needed.
Right.
So he's got at least they've worked and in getting at least the guard and the two guards in the center, once they get working together, you'll maybe develop a good run game, take a little pressure off Caleb Williams, which will set up the pass easier. Therefore, he did have I thought he played real in lieu of the line. Caleb Williams had a pretty good year.
Yeah, got better at the end.
He did improve as the year went, and that's what you like to see.
Horrible. I couldn't believe it.
I couldn't believe the offensive line was that bad.
Yeah, that was bad.
Another big signing I know during the week was Joey Bosa signing with the Bills. 1-year deal, $12.6 million. So Bosa is now a Buffalo Bill. Josh Allen agreed to redo his contract to a new 6-year deal worth $330 million, $250 guaranteed, and it's a very team-friendly contract.
Yeah.
They have a lot of flexibility, and he was like, he said that. He said, no, I wanted it. So, how much money do I need? And it's like, I wanted to spread it out. That brings us to the Bengals. It looks like the Bengals are working on 2 long-term deals with the 2 wide receivers, T. Higgins and Chase. Lamar Chase. And I guess I thought what they'll probably do, and you can weigh in on this, I don't think they're going to sign Hendrickson. I think what the Bengals will do, because they are the Bengals, they'll probably draft the D lineman, because this is the draft with a lot of good D linemen coming out. Defensive linemen in this draft are going to be out there for the taking, sort of to speak. So I could see the Bengals kind of letting go of him. They want Higgins, obviously, because Higgins is really a number one. If T. Higgins went to any other team in the NFL, he's a number one.
Yeah. Yeah, most teams that he would go to, he could easily slot him in there. So
yeah, he'd be your number one guy.
But I seen it last night. I watched NFL Network. I see where if they can get these, so they're in negotiations real hard now with both. And if they can get the right numbers, and that's why Hendrickson has not been traded or anything yet, because they said they may be able to work this in if these numbers just land out right.
They can get
and they reconstructed a couple more players' contracts. So it's a possibility they still, and I think they still would draft an edge rusher and a defensive tackle. They need all kind of
they need
things
a lot
on defense. So I think they'd do it. But if they can get Hendrickson and have the money to do that, I think they will. But if not, then they got to get some capital for him. They have to get a nice trade where they get some picks and some other things that they can work with. That's the main thing. So we'll see what happens. It'd be sad that they lose him, even though, like you said, the edge rushers are a big thing this year. But it don't always happen for a rookie all the time. It's a different atmosphere in the NFL than they had at college. So, if you're going to bank on that, I think then you got to go to free agency and try to find something of a veteran that at least can give you a little something on that DM, because if they don't have no pass rush, then they're going to be playing those 40 and 40-something point games every week. You're going to have a lot put on the offense that had to put up big numbers all the time.
Yeah, that was their problem last year for the Bengals. They started out incredibly slow. They dumped that first game to New England at home. And I really thought that they got themselves down in a rabbit hole they could not get out of, especially in the AFC with those teams out there. They can't lose those games like they did in the beginning of the season and recover from that.
Yeah.
You could make the argument that they were at the end of the season red hot, maybe one of the best teams in the AFC, and nobody wanted to touch them in the playoffs because the defense had seemed to come around a little bit. Burrow was hot as, firecracker. He was just lighting up the league with fantastic numbers, which he's a great quarterback. He can do that. So bottom line is nobody wanted to touch him. They don't get in the playoffs, and I believe they were 9-8. They fizzled out. They didn't get in because they needed Denver to lose, and obviously that didn't happen at the end of the season. Kansas City laid down and didn't bother to play Denver. Denver went in and got the playoff spot that I don't think, again, rumor was that Kansas City threw the game because they didn't want Cincinnati in the playoffs. Well, we've heard all that before.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is Cincinnati can't repeat what they did last year. You can't start the season losing games and then recover. Not in the NFL. No. It's not like baseball or basketball. You got a lot of room for error in those sports where you can dump a few games here and there or not play. NBA, now LeBron's out with the groin. As long as he's healthy for the playoffs, that's all that matters here.
Yeah. They just don't want to. They just really though. It's so tight over there. They don't want to drop into the play-in tournament.
No, they don't.
Can. It's only like 3 games behind.
Right. They have to. They want to try not
Stay
to get
above
into
that.
the play. Right.
But I tell you something. I was looking at college basketball, but I flipped it over and watched the Lakers last night with no Luca, no Bron, and just to see if they play. Man, they give the Denver Nuggets all kind of issues, and they really they should have had it. But you seen the veteran laden team at the last 3 minutes be able to pull that game out, and Murray hit it with I think 9 seconds.
Yeah,
the 3-pointer. Yeah. But they had all kind of problems. Them young guys, because they didn't care. Those guys didn't have nothing to lose, and they was playing like crazy. And I was even shocked. I said, they put Bronny in the game. Bronny played pretty good. Yeah. So I was like, wow. They played hard. You could see the Lakers playing hard, and Nuggets tried to come back and play hard, but they just matched them all the way. But that veteran leadership down the stretch was able to pull it out.
Yeah, Murray hit the go-ahead 3-pointer. Yep. Nuggets won 131-126.
Yep.
But, that was at Denver, too.
It was at Denver, yeah.
Yeah, the thing with the Lakers is as long as they've got, LeBron, the main thing will be LeBron as far as his injury goes. That could be an annoying injury, the groin, just especially – they refer to it kind of as the old man injury. The older players kind of muscles just aren't like they used to be. But the point on it is, as long as they can roll in, let's look up the standings real quick to see where they're at. As we are winding down, you've only have about 16 games left, approximately. Right. Like the Cavaliers have played 66 games. Some teams have played, if you look at the way that is, some play 67, some play. All right. But you got the general idea. Right now, as you point out, the Lakers are sitting at the 5 seed, tied with actually Memphis. Or no, they're a game behind Memphis for the 4 seed. But to your point, Denver, OK City's got it going away, the number 1 seed. Denver Nuggets, Houston, Memphis, and the Lakers are basically, you've got, and even Denver, you take those 4 teams, there's 2 games separating. Mm-hmm. Denver's 11.5 out. The Lakers are 13.5 out. There's 2 games. Lakers are only 2 games behind Denver for the 2nd seed. Or the other side, now there's a little bit more of a gap because the Golden State Warriors, since they've got Jimmy Butler, have all of a sudden caught their wind, and now they're actually at number 6. They're not in the play-in tournament.
Right.
Minnesota is, and right now there's a gap there between the Lakers at 5, Golden State at 6 at 2.5 games. Mm-hmm. Little breathing room for the Lakers. Yeah. They just have to get LeBron back, but they may have to make sure LeBron's 100% rolling into the playoffs.
Because I know they got a game coming. They're getting ready to play their 5-game home stretch starting, I think, tomorrow. But you got Golden State who plays, I think, tonight. I think it's tonight. I think it's a TV guy. I forgot who they play. But they win tonight. Lakers idle. Now they're behind by maybe
half a game
or half
2 games.
2 games. Yeah,
and pick up a game.
If the Lakers come out and don't be full strength and lose again, now you're only 1.5, and everything tightens up big time. So, they got to the home swing. They're gonna, even if they have to pay with their backups, they gotta pull a win or 2 out at home. They have to do that.
Yeah, because like you said, the Lakers want to try to avoid the play-in.
Yeah, they don't want to play in that.
Really don't want to have to play in that.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
Yeah, Golden State plays at home tonight, New York Knicks.
Yeah, and
that's the ABC game,
right?
8:30. For those that aren't going to watch college basketball, we'll get to some of the bubble teams.
That's hard though too.
That's
they've been going at it
as we go all over the board here. Went from football to basketball. We always do that. Anyway, looking over, we got the college ball last night. the lane violation cost Carolina the game against Duke. I know Carolina's saying that wasn't it. Well, yeah. The sad part is the game was Carolina was down a point. Free throw shooter makes the free throw, but there was a clear lane violation on North Carolina and negated that tie. And then ultimately there was only 4 seconds left, I believe. And then ultimately Duke won the game. Now, Duke didn't have Cooper Flagg, their star, who rolled the ankle, and he's probably not playing in the tournament, the conference tournament.
Right.
He may not even play in the first game because it looks like Duke will be a number 1 seed, but he'll probably play in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, they was missing 2 players there.
Yeah, they had another.
Brown, I forgot.
Yeah, Duke had the other star out.
Yep.
So they had 2 stars out, and they still won. Now Carolina looks like, if you go to Lenardi's bubble, Joe Lenardi, I think, does a fantastic job with his bracketology. I follow it, and he's updating it like almost every other hour.
Yeah.
And I love this kind of stuff where I can just sit there and look at the bracketology. And now, right as of now, Joe Lenardi on ESPN has North Carolina as the last team in. And then he's got these are the last 4 in: San Diego State, Xavier, Boise State, North Carolina. The first 4 out are Texas, Indiana, Colorado State, and Dayton. The next 4 out is Ohio State, UC Irvine, Wake Forest, North Texas. Obviously, the Buckeyes, you can't lose to Iowa beginning in the tournament. They lost to Indiana at the end of the season. They were up by 10 in the second half, and they lose to Indiana at Indiana, a game I think they really needed to win, but they lose it. But then I figured, well, okay, you get in the tournament, you got to make a little headway. I thought for Ohio State to get into the tournament or have a chance, they needed to beat Iowa and probably have to beat Illinois. And then they might have got in the tournament, but they lose the first game to Iowa, and they sealed their fate. And I knew they were out of it as soon as they lost that game. Indiana, I thought, needed to win Oregon because they're right on that bubble. They lose to Oregon. Now they're sitting first 4 out. Now, Lenardi's usually pretty spot on. And granted, this is not, carved in stone.
Right.
But so maybe Indiana can get lucky because it's the committee doing it. And maybe Indiana slides in and they slide another team like Boise State out.
Yeah.
Who knows? We'll know Sunday come, 6 o'clock.
Right.
This will all be figured out. They'll have everything nailed and everybody will have their brackets ready to go. And everybody will be betting getting into their office pools with their brackets.
Yeah.
And that's what NCAA college basketball is about.
Oh, yeah.
Is brackets and money.
Yep.
So anyway, that's kind of what we'll look a little bit more at the bubble and the teams. I mean, today, the only thing, the games now, these teams are usually in it, like in your bigger conferences, because the Big Ten has followed chalk. All the favorites have won. So, they're in. These teams that are playing today, they have the Big Ten is playing their semifinals today. All those teams are in.
Yeah.
Because Michigan beat Purdue last night, Maryland won, and then Michigan State won, and Wisconsin won.
All of them should make it.
Oh, they're all in. Right. Yeah, they're all going to make it. So, I mean, these games now, the only thing these games could impact is potential seeding.
Yeah.
In the tournament.
Today's finals. You're saying, right? Today's the finals. The
Big Ten today are the semifinals, and the SEC are semifinals. They play the finals on Sunday.
Yeah. So there's 4 teams left in these conferences.
Yeah, there's 4 teams left in these conferences.
And wouldn't you say mostly all 4 will make the tournament?
All in the SEC and the Big Ten, all these teams that play today are in it.
Yeah.
And like your SEC, your Big Ten, And even the ACC, because it's a down year for the ACC.
Right.
They look like they're only the debate is, do they get 3 or 4 teams in? Carolina would be the 4th team that would get in. Louisville, Clemson, and Duke are in.
Mm-hmm.
Carolina is the 4th team. Wake Forest is out.
Yeah.
North Carolina is the bubble team, and that's the team that could be in and out. Like I said, Lenardi's got them in, last team in, which means who knows what the committee's going to do. But they are North Carolina.
Right.
So we don't know what's going to happen there. But North Carolina really needed to, some people believe they needed to beat Duke last night to be in.
Yeah.
To definitely be in.
Yeah, they would have been in too, for sure.
Even though Duke didn't have their 2 stars.
Yeah. It's just that they beat with that on the resume.
Right.
To win that, I think that would have got them in for sure.
Right, because they call it a quad 1 win.
Right.
So that's what they have going on there.
Mm-hmm.
But the other conferences, as we motor through that, let's see, what do we have? We have the for today's game, the SEC teams going at it. Let's see, pull it up. We've got today, for those out there, Tennessee at Auburn is a 1:00 ESPN. Both those teams are in. Wisconsin, Michigan State, that's the 1:00 CBS game. They're in. And then Alabama and Florida, 3:30, they're both in. In fact, some people believe Florida can win it all. And then Michigan versus Maryland, they're in. Both those two, all those teams are in. It's just the debate is where would they go on seeding?
Right.
Now Boise State has a big game. They play Colorado State tonight, or today at 6:00. That's a big game because Boise State's on the bubble. They probably have to beat Colorado State to get in. And the Big East final is 6:30 tonight. It's Creighton taking on St. John's, but both those teams are in.
Yeah.
So, and then tonight at 8:30 is the ACC championship, which is Louisville and Duke.
Mm-hmm.
And they're in.
Right.
So all these teams now in the major conferences are in. And then the other conferences are playing for, they've got to win or they're out.
Yeah.
But your major conferences now are playing, but these games aren't are not going to dictate them getting in the tournament they're in.
Yeah. Yep. So
now
this coming week will be it.
Right. And
starting
then
on Tuesday, I think, with the play-in
Tuesday, Wednesday are play-ins. Thursday, the tournament starts.
Yep.
The 64 teams roll it at noon on Thursday. And then the whole next weekend is just, college basketball. And then they'll have the Sweet 16 figured out by late Sunday night.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go from 64 to 16 in 4 days.
Yeah.
That's what makes it a great thing.
Right.
Saturday morning sports page, right back after a quick timeout on Western Reserve Radio.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier that makes sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, let me ask you something.
Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
If you want to stay on top of your health, one simple thing to do
is take the pledge to go and get screened for the cancers that might affect you.
So stand up to cancer and take the pledge and get screennow.org.
It only takes a minute to take care of yourself, and nothing rhymes with org.
Talk to your doctor about your health and screenings that are right for you.
Saturday morning sports page, Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. Get in, talk sports. We do it every Saturday morning here. Here is Western Reserve Radio, Dave Clark. Yeah, we were getting back to the NFL for the second quarter, and obviously we talked some of the basketball. We'll probably circle back to that. Also, we could talk a little bit like with college football and college about the NIL, what's going on with NIL and all the chaos, according to some experts. I just want to know, Dave Clark, is can they do NIL cash deals? Is that okay? Like, an envelope full of cash, NIL. Right. Well, that's just an NIL deal. Hey, I got $100,000 in 20s in an envelope. That's NIL, right? Is that
in a brown bag?
In a brown bag? Yeah. Is that NIL?
Yeah, might as well.
Can I say that? Well, that's my NIL deal, right? Yeah.
FedEx will have it out to the house soon.
Yeah, FedEx to the house. So that's my NIL deal.
Yep.
Cash. Right. Just cold hard in the gym bag.
Yeah,
if there's if it's a lot, you need the envelope won't hold it.
Right.
So you need to put it in a gym bag.
Yeah.
With the college logo on it.
It might as well.
NIL.
Mm-hmm.
So now everything's that's the NIL deal.
Yeah.
Right. How's it? And then now the NCAA is pretty much, can't do anything because they try to, but now they just have there's nothing they can really do.
Yeah.
I mean, what's to say that they just can't say, yeah, that's NIL. Cash in a suitcase, envelope, gym bag.
You wonder. I mean,
it's all 10s and 20s.
Yeah, they need to just leave that. They just let it go. They didn't jump on it years ago to get this under, and I think they could have worked in some kind of agreement how this could have, but no, they want to, push that. You're not getting anything.
Nope.
So, well, they lost, and now the floodgates are open, so just have to live with it for right now.
Well, the only thing now that they're doing is they're going to limit what a school can spend on NIL.
Yeah.
But
that's not really try to eliminate the player. You're not, but I can see that because you get your bigger schools
spend more
a lot
money.
More revenue.
Right.
They'll get more. It'll be like baseball, Major League Baseball.
Yeah, you will.
You get all the big schools. They'll be getting
They'll be the LA Dodgers.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
And then the other schools, they're not bad, but they just
don't have the revenue.
And they won't get it. So they don't want it to get to that. So maybe that's the best way to go.
Let me ask you a question here. You have $30 million limit. That's what you tell the NCAA, right? $30 million. Okay. Well, then we just talked about the cash and the...
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Right. And now the question is, I might have $30 million, but then how much is... That doesn't include the cash in envelopes.
Right.
So you can limit the $30 million.
And
then how does the NCAA, if they're going to start investigating it, how can they they're going to have to determine what's okay and what's not.
Right.
And what's over the 30 million limit.
Mm-hmm.
So good luck.
Yeah, trying to find out.
Yeah, try to find out, because you're going to have to say, well, you know, Ohio State, just as an example, some schools spent over 30 million, but once they get over 30 million, it's all cash in envelopes or cash in gym bags. Like,
those are the schools they would be looking at, trying to
right.
Ohio State, Alabama,
that have more than the 30 million to spend.
USC's, your Oklahomas,
right?
Your big time
programs are the ones that have the money.
Right, they're going to go after them.
Yeah,
that's the ones they think they can find something out about, but they just need to put that watchdog away. It's just go ahead at what you're going at, because but I'm sure with them, if they're going to be still around the NCAA, believe me, they're going to find something to snoop in to try to get something started.
Oh, they will, because they're the NCAA.
Yeah, I mean, they can't be dormant and you don't hear anything from them. They got to stick their nose in it and try to do some things. You know, but I mean, I thought that years ago. I mean, I understand back in the 60s and 70s, but once college football became really, really popular.
When the TV money.
Yeah, and all that TV money, you had to change it, because you went from that to selling. You know, back then, they didn't even have some of the players' names on the jersey. That was like, whoa, their names on the jersey. Now it all became like that. Now you're selling these kids' jerseys.
And making more.
You're selling posters of them and making money off of them.
Yeah.
So you had to get them involved with getting something. You know, and everybody said, well, they're getting an education. But that was always offered. That was always offered. So, and that money like that wasn't offered. So if one is getting money, then the other half should get something too. So, you know, they're working in this together. So that I'd always thought that. We always used to talk about it. I mean, for years, people think we're playing over. It's been over 15 years or longer.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just talking about it. And saying they should get paid. We used to get calls from people that would be outraged.
Yeah, we thought that.
Yeah. What are you doing? You're trying to... No. I mean, you're making money off these kids.
And a lot of money.
And a lot. Absolutely.
Yeah, like when you start looking at the TV deals, and so, you know, NCAA, they football and even basketball, when they sign with, you know, the networks, the billions of dollars that these schools are getting, you know, for TV. And that's really what drives the boat, sort of, to speak. But then also, you know, we talked like last week, though, but, you know, and they were talking about, well, we talked more with the NBA and baseball about trying to cut down the number of games.
Right.
That's never going to happen.
Right.
Because there's just way too much money that these owners and colleges, you know, like they're never going to cut down the number of football games these colleges play.
No.
You think they're going to say, Ohio State, now you're only going to we're going to limit your home games to 5 games or 6 games. That ain't happening.
Right.
Because look, we talked like do the quick breakdown of price of concessions, tickets, parking, and same thing in the NBA is the tickets, the parking, and the concessions. They get 41 home games. Each team gets 41 home games plus the playoffs, and they're all getting in the playoffs. 20 of the 30 teams get in playoffs. So when you start adding up the number of games at home, and that's what I always focus in on, just look at the amount of home games. Even with baseball, they play 162 games. They play 81 home games. Then their teams are getting to the playoffs. But when you're having people park and they're paying, and their concessions and the ticket prices, and then the merchandise that they buy, bring your kids to the game, and when you get into the hot dogs, and all right, Dad wants to have a beer too. They're $15 a beer.
Yep.
Some of these joints, you get to $100 in concessions with a family. Like, I mean, almost in a drop of a dime. I mean, it's crazy. But the point is, you look at the money that is pouring in to these baseball parks, basketball arenas, and those owners are just never going to say, yeah, let's play. And then they have to go to the players and say, since we're playing less home games, you're getting less money. You know,
didn't do that.
it ain't happening.
No.
You're going to go to a basketball player or a baseball player and say,
I don't want to hear that.
we're cutting your salary 25% because we're cutting back the number of games.
Yeah, it'd be outrage.
And that would be outrage. Yeah. But, getting back to our NFL, which we probably love to talk about of all the sports out there. And I think this time of year in the NFL, things are just going crazy, I think, with the free agents that are out there. But an interesting one was Daniel Jones signed with the Colts. 1 year deal.
Yeah.
And now, what's interesting with that is Daniel Jones signed a 1 year, $14 million deal, $13 million guaranteed. And he got a $6 million signing bonus with a base salary of $7.15 million. He has a max salary of $17.7 million. So he will now compete with Richardson for the starting spot, which would be very interesting because if Daniel Jones might have an opportunity to play himself into a starter.
Yeah, I think he does have a good opportunity.
Because Richardson, although has shown greatness, he's also shown he's not been so great.
Yeah.
And, he's like a developing quarterback. But the problem you ultimately have, and we talk about this all the time, the NFL does not have time to develop quarterbacks. Right. Not in this day and age. You can't, if you're an NFL team, you need to win football games. So you can't develop the quarterback as he's losing games for you. That's not acceptable.
No. The only way you can do it is, you got to do it the way of having a veteran guy in there.
Right.
Like they had the Joe Flacco or whoever start, let this guy learn. But some of them, the reins be so tight on them that as soon as they lose a couple games, they feel, I got to put him in, and they put him in. Where other teams will just say, no, he's going to continue to learn, make sure the best thing happens for them. And that's what you need. Anthony Richardson has all the talent where he can make every throw possible.
Right.
He can run the ball. He can do it. Now, he's got to watch that because he's been injured a lot.
That's,
but his inconsistency is because he hasn't had a time to learn the game good and allow it to slow down for him. And people say, how does it slow down? When you become comfortable in what you're doing, it's not so hectic to you while you're playing it. You play it, it's just like you flow right with it. When you're in there and don't know what you're doing, it makes everything antsy. That's in anything you do. You're antsy because you're not comfortable yet. You go to a new job, that can happen. You make some mistakes because you're antsy. But once you settle down in that position that you're in, you seem to everything just flow just as great. So I just, I believe that's what he need. This competition thing was smart. And I think Daniel Jones was smart to do that because I think in Minnesota, they absolutely seen J.J. McCarthy look good enough to start. That injury happened. And I think they want to make sure he's the guy. And I think that's the thing with Aaron Rodgers. They do say that they would be interested in him, but if J.J. McCarthy is healthy, I think Kevin O'Connell rather roll with him right from the beginning. If he has some speculation, he's not 100%, he's 80-something% coming back from that knee, then I think he would want. But see, Aaron Rodgers doesn't want to sit that long without knowing. I think so. I'm sure the decision is going to come soon. I even think, like I said, I think Russell Wilson is going to come soon. He might come before Rodgers. I was thinking Rodgers would be the guy that sets the standard or where everybody else goes, but I don't know.
Well, he seems to be kind of like, what do they call it? The linchpin.
Yeah.
Where once Rodgers decides, then all these teams are going to fall into play. So if Rodgers decides to go to the Giants, which if I were to rate these teams, I would say he's least likely to go there. I just don't understand why he would go to the Giants because when you look at the New York Giants right now, they're not a playoff team and they're not going to be a playoff team.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see the Giants being a playoff team next year, even with Aaron Rodgers. He may give him 1 or 2 extra wins, or Russell Wilson, the same thing. He may get him a couple wins. He might get him to 7 wins instead of 5 wins.
Yeah.
That's what my take is. I could be wrong, but I'm just saying, knowing what I see with the Giants, and Dable and Shane have the basically pressure on them that if they don't get this team turned around, they're out.
Right.
And I mean, they need to, I think they need to win 9 games to keep their jobs. If they don't get to 9 wins, I think they're out.
Mm-hmm.
I would think now, unless they get to find the quarterback who's, they somehow, some way they get Shedeur Sanders, or maybe they get Cam Ward in some kind of a trade with Tennessee, or somehow, some way he drops them, whatever the case.
Yeah.
But if they get a Cam Ward, say, and they go, he's playing really good, and you have a future, a promising future here. They get to maybe 7-10, but the team is very competitive, has lost a couple close games, and you've got a young quarterback who's really developing. I think they keep their jobs.
Right.
But if they go 7-10 with the backup and they're not competitive in a lot of the games, and he could see the team's really not that good, I think they're in trouble, and I think Mara will decide to get rid of both of them. And I think they're both at the hip.
Mm-hmm.
You get rid of one, you're getting rid of the other one.
Yeah.
But that's going to be the problem with the Giants moving forward. This year is a big year, because obviously if they roll out another 4-13 season, or another 5, if they get 5 wins, they're out. I mean, they're going to have to go up. Then the question is going to be, though, with the quarterback, and this is what coming up with this draft is going to be so important.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's why I look at them. I look at the Browns. And that's why I said, let's say they sign Russell Wilson.
Yeah, because he's looking at the Browns.
Yeah, and if he said, yep, I'm going to go to the Browns, I do believe the Browns will not draft a quarterback. No. And I don't think they really want to with that they got the second pick. What I think they would do is draft, honestly, to be honest with you, I think they'll draft Travis Hunter. I think they will actually get more talent influence and they do that. And then I think later in the draft, they'll try to get back into the first round. And let's say Shedeur Sanders is sitting there or somebody, I think they'll go and do it then and let him learn behind a Russell Wilson, and they'll have their future. If not, they can just roll it with that. You got Kenny Pickett as the backup, and then you just wait until next year with the new crop of quarterbacks that's coming, if you feel more comfortable with that. Same way with the Giants. They have to make a decision on somebody. Right now, who's in camp? Tommy DeVito and
that's it.
Him and Danny. Both. Now let me quit. But Tommy's the guy that's in camp. I mean, the only guy that's on the roster, I believe, right now. So, and then, you got to look at Rodgers looking at it and say, yeah, I don't have to move. I'm right here in New York. But who I got to throw to? Oh, Malik Neighbors. Let me see who else. It is other guys, but that's what they are. There's guys, I heard people like to call them Jags, just another guy. They do have a bunch of guys that's got some talent. Slayton re-signed. But I think, what do you rather throw to? DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth? Or do you want to just got Malik Neighbors and some guys? I mean, and then the opportunity to win. But I do think it's something about it's just New York. Maybe I'm biased to New York.
Yeah,
I always feel that no matter what their rosters is in New York, they're always fighting. New York teams, they're just fighting. So you never know what the Giants might do. We look at it, and I say 4 or 5 wins. But I said that one time before. I said 4 or 5, and they won like 10, something that year. They went to the playoffs. When Daniel Jones took the play, we didn't think they would win anything. It was banging teams out there. Just don't know with that football team. We're just not crazy about our guy Shane or Dable, so the confidence level is not there. But did they do that to get to the playoffs with our guy Judge? Wasn't that Judge the head coach then?
No.
Who was the coach when they got to the? No, it might have been Dable.
No, it was Dable.
It was Dable's first year, right?
First year.
Yeah. So, yeah. I mean, so it's possible for them to come out and do something weird, we'll be just tripping. But let those guys slide and are available with the Giants pick, Cam Ward or Shador,
Yeah, because they think ultimately Shador will maybe drop to the Giants because the Browns have second pick.
Right.
People are assuming that Cam Ward's going to Tennessee.
And that's going to be interesting. What if he doesn't? What if they take Travis Hunter?
And that's
something.
The other potential, or they trade out of it.
Yeah, or that. But you figure if they trade out of it, it's somebody that's coming up to get Cam
Ward. Because that's what would help. See, and the thing is, word is no teams are taken with these quarterbacks. Like the word is, if you read all the hype, is they don't think either quarterback is a game changer. Like, it's not a draft where a Peyton Manning came out, Drake May, obviously, and last year's draft, you had quarterbacks that you felt could step in, start, and make a difference.
Right.
And that happened last year.
Mm-hmm.
You had 3 quarterbacks that came in and showed that, now you know why the Giants wanted Drake May. Because he went up to that, he went to New England with an absolutely kind of a bad team, did well.
Yeah.
And then you have Caleb Williams did great. I thought he played not great, but he played pretty good.
He did.
With a bad line.
Yep.
And then Daniels shocked everybody because nobody thought he was going to be that good. They thought he'd be good, but he basically got them to the,
NFC
conference final.
Yeah.
In the NFC.
Mm-hmm.
And he was and he covered up for a bad defense.
Right.
Because if you watched Washington last year, he was converting those third downs and keeping the mediocre defense off the field.
Mm-hmm.
And we always get into this conversation, but if you have a great quarterback with a good enough line that can keep converting third down, you win that possession time, but then you're keeping your defense off the field, and therefore you're going to win football games.
Right.
And he did that.
Mm-hmm. And that's what they need.
And that's what they need.
But I love it when they expect, like they'll have one draft and they'll think of all these quarterbacks and highly rated, and then it's nothing too much, just a couple of them. And then they'll talk about, this they got nothing. And it would be nice if we see some guys really step up and shock them. And but they may not be first rounders. They may not get picked in the first round, but we'll find out if they can play. Look at Brock Purdy a couple years ago. He's the last player selected, and he's already then got his team to a Super Bowl.
Right.
So, and was this a player so away from winning a Super Bowl?
Right.
So, it's possible that anything can happen. I don't know how they, I look at games and watch guys, and I know it's college. So I understand the difference from does it translate. But I like to look at certain things. Like I like the demeanor of Cam Ward, Shador, and Pax.
Jackson Dart.
I like those guys' demeanor because they don't get flustered in big moments. They don't care about guys all down their throat coming. They stand right in there, take the hit.
No, they do.
They just do whatever it takes to win football games. And you can't teach that. You can't teach bravery. You either got it or you don't. You can't teach heart. So when I see guys have that and the willingness to do that, then I know they have the willingness to learn and be able to get better at their craft. So, I think some people might make a mistake by passing on these guys. Down the road, they can be big factors. I love to see them do some things, thinking that these guys are just guys you can push to the side.
Well, we always get in the conversation, which I think is important. But when you start looking at teams and players, I think I think teams are going to, and they may regret this, I think there's teams out there that are going to ultimately talk themselves out of a Shador Sanders for whatever. They're going to find something stupid, like they didn't like the way he said, I want to come in and change the attitude. I want to be a winner. I want to, if the team isn't winning, I want to come in and make them a winner. And people are taken back by that statement. And I'm thinking, did I miss the memo about your quarterback wanting to win games and the fact that Shedeur Sanders wants to change the losing attitude of the team? And I'm thinking that's a negative. Like if I'm a GM, I'm thinking that's the guy.
Right.
He
said some things like, if you're not going to come with the idea of winning, you don't need to come to wherever I'm at.
Right.
Well, they took that as arrogance, but like you said, what do I want my quarterback to be like? His thought process, his attitude, and his willingness to want to win. You want to just keep losing? I just don't understand.
I don't understand that.
I don't get it. And then that people just love, but that's the world though. People love to look at things and settle on towards the negative. So if they say something, to try to find out, they spin it any kind of way they can to make it a negative when it's not really a negative.
Not at all.
Because if I'm a guy, if I'm looking at it from a different set of lenses, I'm like, oh, this guy's brash, but he's serious. He wants to win. He's not coming in saying, I'm the best guy. You can't win unless you have. He did not say that. But that, unbelievable.
That's what I don't see.
Unbelievable.
Shedeur Sanders played 2 years, had basically 24 starts. So he's had, I think, enough
at Colorado.
But
he started those years at Jackson State.
That's the other thing they
always like to look at that. He didn't, he played there, so he couldn't be good. Well, Doug Williams played all 4 years at Grambling, at your subdivision. I think he's pretty decent.
Well,
and we could go into some other. We can go into some other quarterbacks that played in the MAC and other places like that. Pretty decent. We can do it.
That's how the old AFL built the league. Right. The AFL built the league. Basically, look at your history. They went to usually the Southern all-black schools. And drafted and got all these great players, the Kansas City Chiefs, Houston Oilers. Look at where Buck Buchanan went to school. One of the best defensive linemen ever to play among. Could start rolling off the Kansas City team, the defense, one of the best defenses.
Yeah.
How that was assembled.
Right.
Because the NFL was going through the major colleges and ignored those Southern black schools, and the AFL took all those players and built one heck of a league.
It's just crazy.
And it's just insane that
now Walter Payton was drafted by the Bears first round. But I remember when he was on the draft back then in 1977, I think.
Yeah.
They were saying, he should be a first round pick. He was tough, but he played in the lower division. I don't think he's tough enough. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that guy punished NFL defenders. Ask them.
He administered punishment to someone tackling him.
Right. Yeah.
Saturday morning sports page is in the books. Halftime. We'll come back second half of the show on Western Reserve Radio after this quick timeout.
Youngstown, Warren, and Salem's local and national sports talk can be found on TuneIn and the Live 365 app at Western Reserve Radio, WRDB, The Scourge.
Catch all of the spring and summer action of Cleveland Cobras minor league football on Western Reserve Radio. Follow the Cobras as they compete against teams from around the region in pursuit of a Tri-Point Football League championship. And if you're looking to continue your football career after high school, college, or even the pros, or to be part of the Cobras staff, go to Facebook at Cleveland Cobras Football or contact owner Jesse Caldwell at 330-416-3442. Be a part of the excitement of Cleveland Cobras football.
In the small town of Elmira, New York, a boy boy was born into an all-American family. The odds of him achieving his dream in the fashion industry? 1 in 23 million. The odds of having a child diagnosed with autism? 1 in 68. I am Tommy Hilfiger, and my family is affected by autism. Learn more at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
Western Reserve Radio is the Valley's online source for sports talk and local live events. Tune in and be a part of their live weekly shows, as well as all of the hard-hitting action of Youngstown Phantoms hockey, high school football, and the GDFL. Find them at westernreserveradio.com. Tune in and the Live 365 app to be a part of the area's sports conversation. Be sure to visit them on Facebook at Western Reserve Radio and on Twitter at WR_radio.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Saturday morning sports page back. Pat Lucia, Dave Clark, 330-707-4202. You know, Dave, we were talking a little bit about the AFL and how they developed the league and built the league.
Yeah.
And they realistically, because they were competing against the NFL at the time,
right?
They realistically built the league by drafting the players out of the southern black schools like the Gremlins, South Carolina State.
Mm-hmm.
You rattle off all these schools. Walter Payton with the Jackson State.
Yeah, he's from Jackson State. Yeah.
Shador played
at Jackson State
2 years and 2 years at Colorado.
Right.
So he's had 4 years. He's had a lot of college starts under his belt, which is what Anthony Richardson hasn't had.
Right.
And I think, and we talk about this, but that's what hurt. Not only did it hurt Anthony Richardson when you see that he didn't really have a lot of, but Trey Lance didn't have a lot of starts.
Yeah.
And we see this time and time again, the players that just don't have those starts under their belt, they just struggle in the NFL because the NFL does not have time to really develop these players.
Yeah.
And Trey Lance may be a decent quarterback someday. I don't know if we're ever going to know because he's just never going to play. And it's sad because it could be an untapped talent there.
Yeah. Right.
But due to the circumstances, he's going to get he'll be in the backup position and be in the league and then wash out. But you'll never know if he got in the right situation.
If he could do it, yeah.
If he could do it. But you're just never going to know. And he's with I think he's
a free agent.
I believe he's a free agent.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if he's signed anywhere.
No, I haven't heard anything of Trey Lance going anywhere.
And I think that's the sad part of it is he's 6'4", he's like 225. He's got the skill as far as, he could, move. He's got the athletic ability.
Mm-hmm.
And I think at the end of the day, it says here, he has played out his rookie contract.
He's out of it now, right?
Yeah, he's done.
Yeah.
4 years done.
Yeah, he's a free agent. Usually they get a fifth year?
If the league, it's the team can get that, cannot have them.
That's only if he's with his original team, though, too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe. That might be it, too.
Right.
He's not with San Fran, who drafted him, so
no.
He's at Dallas, so he's probably done. He's probably a free agent.
Right. So Lance is a free agent.
And I'm trying to think, do his brother come into to the league this year. His brother's a receiver and a very good one out there at North Dakota State. I mean, that guy catches everything. And it's making me wonder if he'd be coming into the league, and maybe if he's drafted somewhere, Trey would love to come in and play where his brother is at. So we could see if something like that happened. But yes, it's sad. You know, that's why Tennessee is in a real important thing. If they really think that Levis could be their quarterback, because people think, well, he was at Kentucky, but he was at Kentucky,
Penn State,
and Penn State. And you got to remember, he didn't start there. At Kentucky, he was there. He got starts. I don't know how many college starts he had, but they were intermittent starts. And what I mean by that, he was injured.
Right.
He started injured, came back, played, started. So he wasn't like a guy that was a 20-something game starter straight through. He was a guy that was injured, intermittent starts. 7 here, 8 over here, 4 over here. This guy still got to learn. He can throw. He can make every throw. He's big, strong. And he is not shy away from any contact. So if you get a guy like maybe we weren't thinking about this either, Russell Wilson going there, you could continue to groom Will Levis for another year.
Right.
Instead of going after the first round draft choice, because you actually could get Cam Ward and trade that pick, somebody like the Giants that might want him, get some draft capital, and you got to do some other things with the rest of your team because you got holes other places too. So it's going to be interesting this year to see what people do. But I hate that, like what you said, that was a great Trey Lance guy. We might never know.
No,
never know. He didn't get the opportunity or the grooming, and they should know this when these guys come in. Anthony Richardson,
same thing.
You put him out there, get out there. He only really started 12 games, and he really wasn't in a pro style offense. No. They did pro type plays at times. Not a complete pro offense. I mean, and you throw him out there to the Wolves like that, the great Peyton Manning, a 4-year starter at Tennessee. You threw him out, but you threw him out, but he had 4 years and he had to learn in the NFL. I think he threw 32 or 33 interceptions as a rookie. 33. I remember people say, oh, here's a bust. They were thinking he was going to be a bust because he threw so many interceptions. But we've seen how he turned that around. You knew the talent was there. The patience is not the same no more, though.
Well, that's the problem.
You're under pressure to win right away.
Drake May had 26 starts in college with Carolina. So, but Shador had, I was trying to look up how many, I looked up college stats. They left off Jackson State. No respect at all.
Yeah.
None at all.
You look for stats.
Yeah, I looked for Shador's college stats, and they give me the Colorado, but I wanted to know how many starts.
Because, see, they still, even today, this is 2025, they still have the same mentality. That's why I say things have changed like we think they changed, but it really hasn't to a certain extent because that's insane.
This doesn't give me the games he plays. See, this is the other thing. He gives me his stats, but it doesn't give me how many games did he play at Jackson State.
And I think they played at least 12, 13. It might have been something.
I'm sure he had 24.
I remember them being 11-1 one of them years or something like that, and they lost in a championship game against their little championship thing.
The point is, he's been around. He's played a lot.
Yeah,
he's got 4 years of college in him. So he's ready for the NFL. This is what I think I'm a Giant fan, and I don't know what the Giants are going to do, but these teams are talking themselves out of Shador Sanders. I think it's a mistake.
Yeah.
And I think he's going to come in, and he's going to be a good quarterback.
Right. And I look at this, they think the same thing with Cam Ward to a certain extent because he was at Washington State.
Right.
Before that, he was with, what was it called? Something Word was the name of the college. It's a I don't know if that's a NAIA school or whatever. That's where he played at first. And then he went to Washington State. And then he went to Miami and played on the big stage.
He was been around the proverbial block.
Yeah,
UIW.
Yeah, University Incarcerated Word.
That's it.
Yeah,
he was there
he
for
played.
He played there 2 years, and then he went Washington State 2 years. and then Miami 1 year.
Yeah, because he took that COVID year, so that's a lot of started.
So he had a lot. Yeah, he's got 57 games under his belt.
Yep.
So he's got a boatload of games under his belt. The maturity's there. Shador's got a boatload of. He's got a lot under his belt.
Yep.
So these guys are ready. These are NFL ready quarterbacks in my eyes.
And Jackson Dart was at USC,
right?
And then to Mississippi.
Yeah.
And so you gotta remember that he was on the big stage. He's always been in the big stage there.
Yep.
And then he goes to the SEC, which is we know that's a big stage. So he's done played in it. So I like watching this when they doubt guys, whether they're quarterbacks, running. I don't care what position they play. I love them when they doubt them. And if the guy got that heart and that as they say, that dog in him, I love to see it.
Yeah.
Because they come out and they just do some things that you just didn't think was going to happen.
No. Let's hit the phones. We got Irish. Hey, Irish Mike, what's up?
Good morning, Pat. Good morning, Dave. How you guys doing today?
Good. How you doing?
Good, yeah. Jackson Dart had 45 career starts, 6 with USC, and then he was 13 in 2022, 13 2023, 13 2024. So Jackson Dart's got 45 career starts. Shador, Jackson Dart, and Cam Ward all have, we always look at the required, how many games they need in their college career to succeed. They all have that.
Yeah, and I don't care where they played at. They didn't play with dummy stuffed animals out there. They were playing with live bodies. So,
they played.
It's always going to give you and allow you to progress.
Right.
So they're ready for all these guys, these three quarterbacks who may be first rounders now. Jackson Dart might be in the first round. One rumor is the Giants may trade back and get him, was one rumor out there.
So much going on.
A lot going on. Or Shador is going to end up a Giant, or Cleveland Brown. Cam Ward, they believe, is going to go to Tennessee Titans, but who knows at this point? We'll have another month to talk about it.
I've been hearing it all. Raiders would get back in, and heard the Browns would jump back in the first round and get Shador if nobody picks him.
Right.
So anything. It's going to be. I love the draft though. It's fun.
No, that's the best part.
Yeah.
And I don't think all these rumors that Shador's dropping in the draft, I'm not buying it. I just don't buy any.
You think it's yes?
I think it's all noise.
Yeah.
I think the Browns will draft him, or the Giants will draft him. If he drops to third, I think the Giants draft him.
Yeah.
But hey, Irish Mike, what do you say? What do you think? What do you think on these quarterbacks coming out of college?
First NFL story I want to talk about before we get into anything.
Okay.
Dave Clark, about noon last Sunday, I got a text message from a guy you might know. His name is Pat Lucia.
Yes.
And the text, my wife made a fine brunch, and we're enjoying our brunch, and Lucia texts me, Myles Garrett re-signs with Browns. I'm like, what? So, of course, it was all over the internet. Within 3 minutes, the Myles Garrett signed a contract extension.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking, well, what happened? Obviously the last 2 months were a whirlwind. He went on every national talk show,
right,
TV and radio and podcast, dozens, and talked about how he wanted traded. He was done with the Browns.
Right.
Yeah, he was. Right.
Yeah.
Well,
obviously, there's 40 million reasons why he changed his mind. Okay, he said he's about winning. I want to win. I want to win
Right.
I'm not worried about the Hall of Fame. I want to win championships. I want to get Super Bowls.
Right.
On and on. So that was what we heard all of January, all of February, and half of March.
Yeah.
And obviously the money changed his mind. But then it's funny because there was an article that came out Wednesday by Jason Lloyd, who's been a Cleveland sports writer for about 25 years now, that talked about how Myles Garrett was late for team meetings, late for practices. He skipped events in the offseason. Traditionally, they were mandatory, that he never showed up. And obviously, there's other players, Dave, giving him this information. He's writing about it, okay?
Okay.
And then when this got a big article and every Cleveland media member had its opportunity, all these talk shows verified what they've been hearing for the last 6 months to a year. So it's like all of a sudden now all these reporters saying, yeah, that's true. We just kept it quiet. We didn't report it because we didn't want to be the first ones to break it, because we didn't want Myles and the Browns mad at us.
Yeah, well, it was two things that was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
Even though he was thinking he put that out, he does want to get more money for sure. But when he checked the two teams that he's really truly interested, three that he was truly interested in getting to, Washington, Buffalo, and Philadelphia.
Yeah.
And when they started telling them how much he can get, I think Buffalo said they can move some things around. 3 years, 70-something million. No, that's not what he wants. He's not getting that after what you see Max Crosby gets, so that's not going to happen. Philly said they could work out something with Roseman. They probably, but it's going to have to wait. It's going to have to wait closer to the draft.
Right.
Now that puts him out in limbo too much.
Yep.
So I said he's not going anywhere. What he's going to do now, he's going to force Cleveland's hand to have to pay him.
Yep.
And once they pay him, everything will be fine. I just didn't know it was going to be that quick. It was like the next day or something.
Day.
So, I mean, he just is a guy that we, like you said, those other things, I'm not surprised some of these guys don't show up for a lot of these things. They should, but, it's not something that surprises me.
Look, here, I'll get a memo out, okay? Lawrence Taylor.
Yeah.
Giants. Do you know how many meetings he didn't go to?
A lot. How many he was asleep?
If he did, he showed up late and he slept, or he didn't show up at all.
Parcells said that he had some kind of computer in his brain because he said he was asleep, snoring.
He didn't know.
And then they go over the game plan, and he had everything down to a T.
It's Parcells wrote in his book about Lawrence Taylor. He said, I don't know what he did because I don't know if he ever really opened up the playbook. But all I know is come Sunday at 1 o'clock, not only was he ready to play, he knew what the offense was doing the way they lined up. He was calling out offensive plays to the defense, watching he goes, Parcells goes, I don't know what he did. I don't know if he watched film on the side, he looked, or he just knew he had a memory where once he played a team, he knew what their offense was and remembered it, didn't forget it. Because I don't know. He never looked at our book that much, but he knew the plays.
Yeah.
He goes, Parcells goes, that guy, but when at 1 o'clock Sundays, was only ready to play. He knew what the offense was doing. He was calling out their plays. He was telling the defense, this is what they're going to do. This is what we have to do. They're all looking at him like, okay, LT, you're the guy. But I don't know. Maybe, like I said, the thing is, I know it's important to be late. Can't be late for meetings. But when you get out on the field, the reality is, are you ready to play 1 o'clock on Sunday, and can you perform? And that's all that matters. Right. All the other stuff doesn't matter. Kyle Bowler, they all talked about that coach that coached Bowler, the Baltimore Colt. The name escapes me.
Yeah.
But the Baltimore coach talked about Kyler Bowler being
Billick.
Yeah, Billick said Kyler Bowler knew the playbook. He knew the offense. He knew the defenses. He was an encyclopedia. He couldn't make the plays. He couldn't make the passes when he needed to. It was simple. Yeah. He did everything, but come Sunday at 1 o'clock or when they put him in, he couldn't make the plays. And and the reality is, you can have all that great stuff, but if you can't make the plays, you're not helping the team.
Yeah. I don't even understand how that happens because how guys do that. Using those two different things on the opposite side. Another guy, Dwayne Thomas, who did not listen to anything Dallas was talking about. He actually turned his chair around the opposite way of what they were doing.
He was so,
and he knew everything on the offense.
He was a smart, the sad part is he held out for that money. He had a couple years and then it fizzled out, but he was a very smart back and knew everything. And I just think if he was with a different team, he would have worked out better for him. But he got with Dallas, he got on the wrong side of Landry and the team, and then he had a great couple years. I could look it up, and then after that, he fizzled.
Yeah, he played at Washington, played pretty good. Yeah, and then after that was it.
And then he was it. But I still think if he'd been with a different team, things, because he was very smart. Like they asked him that question. Super Bowl when they went, the reporter asked Dwayne Thomas a question and said, what does it feel like to play in the ultimate game, the Super Bowl? And Dwayne Thomas's response looked at him and gave him like this look, like he goes, well, if it's an ultimate game, aren't they going to play it next year? And the reporter didn't know what the hell to say. Yeah. But I mean, because Dwayne Thomas was thinking 2 steps ahead of everybody.
Yeah. And that's true.
And
if it's ultimate, why are you playing it again?
Exactly. That's what he said. It's like, well, if this is the ultimate game, aren't they playing it next year? And the reporter didn't know what the hell to say.
That was funny when that happened because he was just stumped.
Yeah.
There was a lot of silence on there.
Dead silence because the reporter didn't know what's your comeback to that.
Yeah.
But anyway, we do digress. I know I respect that was a little bit before your time.
Well, Myles Garrett had his press conference with the media to talk about his contract extension. The third question came from Jason Lloyd, the guy that wrote the report on Wednesday. Jason Lloyd asked him what he thought the Browns might do at the second pick of the draft, next month's draft. And I know you guys are going to laugh at this. Myles Garrett said, next question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's not getting involved in that. Myles Garrett is too smart for that. He's worried about the defense.
Yeah.
And
well, he was upset Jason Lloyd wrote that article, too.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure he was. Yeah, I'm sure he was absolutely.
That's zapping. I know what you wrote. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
What it kills me, guys, and I'm sure, we hear things, just around here in the Youngstown Warren area about this, that, and the other thing. And, what killed me is just about every talk show host in the Cleveland area confirmed that story, that they've known about that for 6 months now, but they didn't want to talk about it on the air during their show because they didn't want the Browns organization or Myles Garrett or anybody else to be mad at them, right? Is what it amounts to.
Yeah.
So once the first person broke it, as soon as that person stepped off the ledge and said, I'm breaking the story, that I've known for 6 months, they all said, oh, yeah, that's true. We've known about that. We've known about that.
Yeah, they come later.
Yeah, exactly,
Yep.
Dave.
I was listening to Mad Dog Russo last week, and they had it was the guy filling in for Mad Dog, and I can't remember his name. It was Parkham, I think. Anyway, he had Mary Kay Cabot on the show talking about Myles Garrett, and Mary Kay Cabot to me knows she's really good. I think she's really good at what she does. She knows a lot of insider. She's really good. And she basically said, don't rule out him re-signing with the Browns. And the guy, and he goes, well, you mean he wants traded? She goes, yeah, I know, but just don't rule out the Browns are still, because he threw numbers out. What do you think she's going to do? She goes, I think there's a good percentage of them. He's going to re-sign with the Browns. Mm-hmm. And sure enough, she doesn't. She says that, and he signs with the Browns. Like, I think she knew, what he was going to do. Now she didn't want to come out and say he's signing with the Browns, but she says I think there's a good chance he signs with the Browns. And the talk show guy was like, "Well, what do you mean? He wants traded. Why would he re-sign with the team he wants traded from?"
Right.
She goes, "Just don't rule that out." Yeah. And sure enough,
and I read a little bit in this form with the Eagles, they was trying to get Jordan Davis plus, I think it was 2 first rounders. That was just cut off immediately. Howard Roseman just cut that off immediately. Like giving Jordan Davis and 2 first rounds.
No,
I mean for Myles Garrett, even though that you love to have him on your pass rush, but he's not going to do that.
But I think there was another analyst that came on and said there's been no defensive player recently that got 2 number ones.
Right. It doesn't happen.
It's just not going to happen.
No.
Even though he's a great defensive player, the market's not going.
Yeah, it's not
like that.
Yep.
And teams, and to be honest with you, the more as we, move forward, it seems like these teams are really stingy with draft picks. They don't like giving them up.
Mm-mm.
And then it was on a talk show. Maybe it was Ernie Accorsi said this. He said, these GMs don't like to give up draft picks because they love the draft, because that's how they look at building the team. And they want to hit on those. People go, those 4th, 5th round, 6th round picks, they don't care. No, they do care.
Oh, they care about them.
No, they care about those 6th round picks. We don't think they do, but they do. Because a lot of those guys are always thinking, I'm building a team and maybe I can get lucky on a 6th round pick.
Yeah.
But that's what they do. They love those. He goes, they don't like giving up their draft picks.
Everybody loves 1st, 2nd round, especially the 1st.
Oh, they all do.
But the team really, what builds the team is that 3rd through 6th is when you really, especially 3rd through 5th. You find them gems down in there. That builds the core of your football team. And people don't realize that. They just look at the 1st round. That's, get excited. a lot of times those guys, I mean, not that they wash out. Sometimes they don't get clicked in until a couple years, and you get a lower drafted guy, and he's in there playing immediately. So you just never know.
Look at Seattle Seahawks a couple of years ago, how they built that line was through the draft. They got lucky and hit on 2 or 3
tackles. Yep. The guard, all
third,
that,
fourth, fifth round guys that they picked up, and they just got lucky. Guys came in, assimilated to the program, got in with everything, and figured out the system. And they had a pretty good offensive line, and they did it with one draft. And that's what those GMs shoot for. They want to be like, well, if we can get lucky and I could pick up a couple draft picks who end up being all pros. I mean, I know I don't know the exact number, but there was a number. How many of the Pro Bowl players were undrafted? Then it's astronomical.
Yeah, I know. Yep. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. That's my other brother's favorite day of the draft is Saturday, guys. He watches from noon to 6:30 Saturday. And just like, you know, you find some recognizable name guys get drafted and you thought were pretty good college players because they, started for 3 years at this school or that school, and they get drafted in the 5th round.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Maybe they're not as big. Maybe they're not as fast. Maybe they're not as, just whatever factors.
Well, I'm really interested to see what the Browns do if Russell Wilson or somebody going there. Because what really shocked me is Myles Garrett and Deshaun Watson was there to meet Russell Wilson.
Yeah.
For when he came in and recruiting him to actually be there.
Well, let me ask you guys this question, because this is granted about in the. If you had to pick between these 3 guys, Russell Wilson, Joe Flacco, or Kirk Cousins, for lack of a better phrase, which one of those 3 still has the most left in the gas tank out of those 3?
Oh, man.
Flacco, Wilson, or Cousins?
It's so hard because I think Wilson will manage your team better. I really do. Don't make all these mistakes. Flacco got the most, I think, the liver arm and make all the throws, but he tends to throw a lot of interceptions.
Throws the INTs.
A lot. So I worry about that. Kirk Cousins, I know he's another guy that can run your football team. We have to see if he's all the way healthy.
In common, Dave Clark. They all 3 have one thing in common. They need a lot of protection. Is that correct?
Oh,
At
yeah.
their age, you need a lot of protection. You know where I'm coming from, right?
Yep.
Well, of the 3, Wilson's the most mobile.
Yeah.
Even at his older age.
Yep, he is.
He's more mobile. Cousins coming off the Achilles. And then now it comes out that he actually had suffered an injury last year.
Yeah, I saw that.
And
what did it say? To where? I heard that.
Was it the shoulder?
Or something. Okay.
He had Kirk Cousins suffered an injury last year that evidently people were really upset because they were like, well, why didn't that ever come out? And that's what everybody was trying to figure out. The problem I have with Flacco to me is old. He started to show his age last year with the Colts. They put him in there. They thought he was good. He wasn't really any good for the Colts. He's 40 years old now. Flacco is in a one game coming off the bench. Okay. Not 2, 3, 4 games. He can't do it anymore. I'm sorry. Age, father time caught up with him. He's the last on your list. I would probably put Russell Wilson a little bit better on the list, just higher, number 1, just because Cousins has got the Achilles tear and he's coming. Now, he could be a little bit better than Russell Wilson. The problem I had with Russell Wilson last year, he played okay, but toward the end of the season, you could see the wear and tear on his body. Again, the age catches up with him.
Yeah.
So hold on. Guys, after the break, I have a quick question because I got to go real quick because I know you guys are going to come on the bottom hour. What's the over-under for win totals if one of those 3 guys becomes a starting quarterback? Flacco, Wilson, or Cousins? With the guys after the break.
Okay. Good. All right.
Saturday Morning Sports Page. Back after this.
Ina's Pierogi House is your home for the area's best variety of pierogies. Daily specials include the Polish platter, the Hungarian platter, stuffed cabbage, and halushki. Having a last-minute get-together? Lena's has you covered with a wide variety of frozen take-home pierogies and dumplings. Go to Facebook at Lena's Pierogi House to see the weekly lineup of available flavors for dine-in or carry-out. Catch the best at Lena's Monday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. and Tuesday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. 20 North Main Street in Hubbard, or call 234-254-8532.
WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio, take one.
Behold the angry giant.
Try it again, Alberto.
Behold the angry giant.
Perfect. Good luck tonight.
Behold the angry giant.
Yay! Read me another one, Dad.
This is WWE superstar Alberto Del Rio. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
During the fall and winter, grilling season never ends, and Gessler Propane is your local supplier. Then make sure you get your hard-earned money's worth. Why go to gas exchanges to pay higher prices for tanks not filled to capacity? Gessler Propane makes sure you're prepared for year-round grilling with 100% filled tanks at a reasonable cost. See Bob Monday through Friday, 10 to 4, and Saturday, 9 to 3 at Gessler Propane, 702 Youngstown Poland Road, Struthers, or call 330-755-9119. Gessler Propane. They got gas.
Meet Josh.
Hi, everybody.
Josh is a high school basketball player, solid shooter, great teammate.
Hey, don't forget my tenacious D.
And he's my son.
Oh.
So, what does Josh do to be the best basketball player he can be?
I play tennis.
Studies show that student athletes here in Ohio who play more than one high school sport are more likely to excel. Tennis does more than improve Josh's conditioning. It gives him a fresh competitive outlet, reduces the risk of injury by cross-training, and introduces him to different coaching techniques and new friends.
Don't get me wrong, hoops are my first love. Tennis just gives me a little break.
So when the new season begins, Josh isn't burned out on basketball. He's eager to play, and you can see the difference in his game.
This message presented by the Ohio High School Athletic Association and the Ohio Interscholastic Athletic Administrators Association.
Saturday morning sports page back at you, fourth quarter of the show, 330-707-4202. We're talking Kirk Cousins. It's hard to say how many wins he's going to have.
If he's
I'm not
Brown
sure.
Quarterback, I'm going to try to look at it as if he's healthy. I mean, looking like he can move around, do things, because he can generate some things. I think he can get them up to, this past season only won, 3 games?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he actually can get them up, if the offensive line is better, 7, 8 games. With his ability to manage football games.
If he goes to the Browns.
Yeah, if he's at the Browns. I'm thinking that's what Irish Mike was asking, whether it's with the Browns. I don't know if he meant overall anywhere. I was saying at the Browns. I mean, maybe 7 games he can get them there. I think Flacco will be less. The only reason I think he always can make a splash with his deep throws, a different thing, but it's not going to last long.
No.
Teams are able to pick him off a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe a game better than they did the year before. And then Russell Wilson, who I think is the better manager, could be, but I don't, he might be the same thing, 7 to 8 wins at the quarterback position.
Yeah, Flacco's 40 years old. And watching him play last year with the Colts, he didn't play good. A lot of interceptions. You want to argue that the Colts aren't a good team. Okay. But I'm not sure. Flacco's a good backup.
Yeah.
To come in and spell the starter a game or two. But to put him in and have him play 5, 6, 7, 8 games, that's not it. When he was younger, no doubt. But I just think Father Time has caught up with him. And I'm just not sure Flacco would be good for a long stretch of playing game after game after game.
Yeah. I mean, it just seemed like that, and it's so funny. stiffer or something with the coach, but you never know. It could be the system.
Right.
He could have been injured, just like we found out after the season. Kirk Cousins was banged up.
He had a shoulder and an arm, it said.
And that's terrible to know. And probably the throwing arm.
Right.
And, I mean, you got all that going on. You don't know if something was going on with Flacco. You know, we don't know. At that age, something could have been going on with him, too.
You could.
But I still wouldn't want him as that everyday starter. I'm assuming the only guy that could do that right now is Aaron Rodgers if he's 40-something years old, because he threw the ball with much more zip.
He did.
He started to move a little better later in the season.
Yeah.
So this year he may be a little bit better at that. But no, I wouldn't want Flacco as my, going to season. He's just my everyday 17-game starter.
I think he's a good backup. Russell Wilson is 36. Mm-hmm. He turns 37 November 29th of this year. So he'll be 36, 37 years old when he plays this year.
Yeah. I mean, if they get a quarterback, the Browns, they need to go ahead and draft one. If it's one complementary to what they need, get a guy and groom him. Even if it's not at the second pick, even if you got to jump back in the first
maybe
round.
you trade back if you want, if you can. I don't know how many. The question is going to be in this draft, how many teams are going to be motivated to draft up, to draft one of these quarterbacks? And I might be wrong. I just don't see it. Yeah. I just don't. Or they're going to trade up but not want to give the team what the team wants.
Yeah.
And I think that's where lies your problem. I think they'll be like, well, we'll give you our first round pick and give you a fourth rounder. And Tennessee's going, no, we want more than that. And they're going to go, well, all right, we're not going to give you anything more than that. Yeah. So I think Tennessee, again, I could be wrong. Yeah. I just don't think that the first three teams in the draft, Tennessee, Cleveland, and the Giants, there's a big demand to trade a lot of draft capital up to draft one of these quarterbacks. Because I think that a lot of these teams are kind of looking at this saying, well, we'll take our chances. Shedeur Sanders will drop to us, or we've got Jackson Dart out there that we might just draft him, and we're not going to trade up to get anybody or we'll be looking at maybe Jalen Milroe or one of those other quarterbacks. Yeah. Or Howard coming out of Ohio State. Yeah. I'm just saying that I think that, and this is, again, I think these teams look at these quarterbacks, and I don't really think they look at a big significant difference between the Cam Ward and a Jackson Dart and a Jalen Milroe. Now, you could argue that, say, no, Cam Ward is much better than Jalen Milroe, but I think some of the teams look at it, no, we don't think there's a significant difference where it's worth trading up or worth giving a lot of capital to move up. And therein lies where the whole problem gets involved is what are the teams willing to trade draft capital-wise to get to the number 1 or 2 picks?
Yeah. At least that's what they're saying, but
that's what they do. But they all lie,
right? That's what I'm saying.
They're all George Costanza here.
February,
right,
through April until the draft is the months of months of lying. It's lie, right? Because I'm not going to give you my hand and let you know that I really love this guy.
Right?
No, he's terrible. He's arrogant.
Right?
The other guy he played. Right. So I don't care where Cam Ward. We make everything up. Just anything we can.
Remember,
and then we'll go and pick them.
George Costanza said it. It's not a lie if you believe it.
Right.
So there you go. I mean, the thing is, they all lie. And this is all there's so much misinformation that comes out. But when we could sit and talk about it and speculate it, because that's what makes this so much fun, is you're not wrong about anything.
Right.
Because you don't know, it's all pure, unadulterated speculation, which is great.
Yep.
And we could sit there and say, well, I don't think they're going to. And then sure enough, someone will trade up and take Cam Ward.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see
some team.
Because everybody said that Tennessee's not taking them because they don't want to do it. But I think they will. I actually think they may do it anyway. You figure you do got Will Levis. Do you want both quarterbacks? Well, you could. Or you could send Will Levis on his way and get some draft capital for him and then get a veteran backup.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of things you could do.
Well, and that's the problem. I think the problem that hurt Will Levis plays pretty good. The problem is those turnovers. Sadly, Tennessee was in a lot of beginning of the year.
Oh, he was right in it.
They were in games like the Chicago game they were in. They should have won it. And Will Levis had a couple turnovers that gave Chicago touchdowns, and it was over. I mean, he is just, I hate to say it, but he lost games through the turnover that just killed the team. And I don't think they ever really recovered from it. And then once they start losing and they fall into that proverbial rabbit hole and can't get themselves out of that.
Yeah. Now, they say he's a mentally strong guy. And hopefully he is, because if he can get through that,
right,
he can become a really good quarterback.
He could be a good quarterback in the NFL, but he's got to get.
Can't be making those. Just take the sack. Sometimes instead of trying to, flipping it off with your left hand, and they pick it off.
And they pick it off, ran in for a touchdown.
You can't be doing that stuff.
No,
that's actually the thing that hurt Carson Wentz down the stretch, or his career wouldn't be where it is now. Yeah. Even though he went to the Colts that particular year, people don't remember. If you look at his stats, he had 27 or 28 touchdowns, only 5 interceptions, something like that. But the last game, he threw like 3 or 4 against Jacksonville. Throwing left-handed passes. They picking and running pick 6. You can't do that.
That game, they lost to Jacksonville, which knocked them out of a playoff.
That did.
They win that game. They go to the playoffs. They lost that game to Jacksonville, who was they weren't any good, and they blew that game to Jacksonville. That had a direct impact on Wentz's career.
Yeah, it did.
He was never right after that.
Never been started since.
Teams put him on the proverbial "don't sign this guy" list. He doesn't know what he's doing list.
Right, he could just be a backup,
or he's a backup. He's not the guy. He's not the starter anymore.
Yep.
One game, and maybe there's some more they know about him that we don't.
Yeah.
But that just basically cast him aside.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been on the backup wagon since.
Yes.
I always thought he was a pretty good quarterback.
Yeah, there's no way I can say he was bad, because people say, "Oh, he's terrible." Well, he wasn't terrible.
No, with Philadelphia,
he was actually an MVP candidate, and then got that knee injury.
He got the knee injury, and
that's the 13th game of the season. He played great all the way up until then. He was the head of that MVP. That knocked him out of it. And once they allowed, and we had, I think he's only a rookie then. Hurts, I believe he's just a rookie. I'm trying to think that year.
Jalen Hurts.
Was he a rookie that year? He might have been there. He might have came the following year. But whatever, he still was his backup. And basically what happened is I
think he came after
He might have came next year.
Because Nick Foles was there.
Nick Foles was there. So I don't think he was
I don't think Hurts.
He came the next year and he was his backup. But you could see he was starting to chip away at his playing time, because this guy just didn't seem like he had it no more.
Oh.
And straight downhill he went, Flacco. But that game against Jacksonville, you can just write it there. That thing destroyed his career.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah. And he's just been all over the place as a backup.
He was never
you don't hear him as one. Why wouldn't he be like the Russell Wilson and the Aaron Rodgers and Kirk? Because you would think he should be in that class to be able to go somewhere to be a starter, but he's not.
No.
And he's not an old guy.
No.
He's definitely not an old guy compared to those guys. He's not even close to their age. So, he might be 30. I'm thinking maybe 31. But
32.
32. But he's definitely, he's not 37. He's not 40. So, he's a guy that should be reckoned to be able to be somebody. And he now, not saying he's going to be a franchise quarterback, but he could be that stopgap guy, that he could be your starter. And you bring a young guy in to learn. But see, they don't even have confidence in him being that. He's just straight backup material now.
Well, he was replaced by Gardner Minshew, who was signed. Gardner Minshew's now the backup for Patrick Mahomes in Kansas City.
That. Yep.
So Carson Wentz is basically...
He's still in there. He's not a free agent?
He's a free agent.
Yeah, he's...
It looks like one insider believes that Carson Wentz
maybe looking potentially at the Titans.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good place to look.
To be
honest.
It said here that the Titans decided against pursuing Darnold and Justin Fields. They were considering a reunion with Marcus Mariota, but that failed because Marcus went back to the Washington Commanders.
Yep, and resigned. Yep.
Now it said, obviously, they are now potentially looking, the Titans could take a chance on a cheap veteran, Carson Wentz, because he's out there. He's 32 years old. He's not going to want a lot of money for a quarterback.
Right.
So you could get Carson Wentz, pretty good deal. And he did show you, as you said, years with Philadelphia.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a confidence thing or whatever, but he's got to regain some of that, and he probably could be a decent starter.
Yeah.
Boy, we've got a monsoon up in
there. Yeah, I was going to say, all of a sudden, we're sitting here in the studio, and
oh my goodness!
If I think I see the Ark
or something, you better
Noah.
Get it quick.
I think I see Noah in the Ark out there.
Yeah, you might.
It's getting.
We may need it.
He may need it. But bottom line is, we're getting hit with a lot of rain here. But bottom line is, Carson Wentz potentially could end up with the Titans. He'll end up somewhere.
Yeah,
because he's not asking for crazy money. He knows he's a backup, so some team will sign him for a backup.
Yeah,
because he has shown you he was at one time one of the best quarterbacks in football when he was with the Eagles.
Right.
So some teams will probably give him. Like I said, I'm not shocked if he doesn't end up. This says potentially Tennessee is one suitor out there that is looking at him.
Right.
Looking at him. So we'll see if he doesn't end up there.
Yeah.
But
I mean that's the places. It's just interesting to see what these people. I know they take their time. They got a lot of times. We're ready to hear something now, but he's a guy that you figure they should be able to do something with.
Yeah, I mean, I think that now with we should know this week that where Rodgers is going. At least I know there's a lot of analysts out there are getting a little upset with Rodgers for dragging this out.
Yeah,
because they're mad because
they ain't got nothing to talk about.
A, that's one thing. B, they know that he's kind of the proverbial linchpin. Is once he decides, then all the other Russell Wilson. I got a text from Irish Mike. That's why he had to get off the phone. He was driving through a monsoon.
That's it. Okay. So the monsoon had already hit him.
Yeah.
And then it got here.
Right.
Yeah.
He was out there.
It hadn't got to us.
No, now I see it because there's lightning out there and everything under the sun.
Yeah. I mean, I looked on my phone and it said 10:40. We should get a thunderstorm. And I guess they were right on time with it. It's right now, 10:49.
Yeah.
I mean, it hit just about 5 minutes ago. And I mean, it is pouring.
Yeah, it's coming down. Woo. Yeah, you got the lightning. We got it all.
We got it all here.
But we've got, the bottom line here is the quarterback carousel will hopefully be somewhat decided this week.
Yeah, sometime I think so.
Wherever Rodgers goes. Although, if you were to ask me, I still think I could look up the odds, but I think it's got to be. I would say the Steelers have to be the lead place. That would be the lead team to get Rodgers would be because he's got Metcalf and Pickens to throw to, and Freiermuth is the tight end, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got three really good receivers. Now their line's a little shaky, but I think that they could, you've got the guys that can catch the ball. Rodgers is smart enough to know how to kind of work the line situation.
Yeah. And it's just, they got a big decision, Pittsburgh, because, Russell Wilson, like you did, you pointed out something that was true. You've seen like the wear and tear later in the season on him. That's why they got to shore up that offensive line. But he's a guy that you don't even hear about them bringing him back. But at first I did. They don't hear nothing about that. But when you think about it, it almost makes sense. Why wouldn't you? When you got a guy that he got a rapport with in Pickens, he really created and Freiermuth.
Yeah.
And he already had a connection with DK Metcalf when he was in Seattle. They both was there.
They were there. Were they there at the same time?
Oh, yeah, because when DK Metcalf first came to the league, the first couple years, Russell was his quarterback and was putting up big numbers with him. So now you got them as a whole receiving core with a guy that's used to him. It's kind of puzzled me that, like,
why would they just sign Russell Wilson?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why. So, and I think it probably puzzled him too. So that's why he's off and checking in these other teams.
Well, one rumor out there was Rodgers wants too much money with Pittsburgh. So they can't agree on money is what one of the analysts was saying, rumored out there to be. So that was a problem. They couldn't get together on money, and then Rodgers is looking at what other teams. Minnesota was one of them supposedly, and then obviously the Giants. But I just don't see why Rodgers would want to go with the Giants because this team they're not going to win any football. They're not going to really win any. They're not going to compete for a playoff. They just don't have the roster for it. If you get a Rodgers, he may get them to. If they get to 7 wins with this team, it'll be a miracle. Now, granted, they could go out and have a great year, and we'd all, look like an idiot, but anything new. But the point is, I just don't think the Giants have a very good enough offensive line and a good team around him.
Yeah.
That he would really want to go there unless he thinks he can somehow, some way.
Well, if he wants to play, they better not put his agent and whoever don't put up big numbers about how much he wants. Pittsburgh is one team that is not going to go crazy and give you money.
They already did with Metcalf, which surprised me.
Yeah, because they don't do that a lot.
They usually don't do that.
That's right. They don't do it. So what they did is they showed whatever quarterback they're trying to get in there that we're not playing around. We got weapons around you so you could throw the football. So he needs to get in there. If not, they got to hope this week. This is an important week, like you said, because let's say Russell Wilson go ahead and signs with Cleveland. Now they're slim pickings for them. They'd be playing the season with Mason Rudolph. And even though he knows the system, that's not where they want to go. But he is a very good backup quarterback. He's a guy he can get in there. He can do 2-3 games and do that. But you don't want him as your everyday starter. But he knows the system, so that always make you comfortable. So, but you don't. That's not. You didn't. If he was going to be your starting quarterback, you wouldn't be looking at nobody else.
Right.
But you did the right thing. Is getting that guy's back.
That was a good move.
Smart because he played good at Tennessee.
Right. He did play good.
Yeah. So he's a guy that can do what he needs to do.
Backup, he knows the system. You don't want to roll into the season with him as the guy.
So, Pittsburgh got to hope that Russell don't sign. Who else we got? And if he does, then the next thing I think Pittsburgh does is they get on the phone to Atlanta and try to get
work out Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, they have to because I don't think unless we start talking about our guys, we've been talking about Carson Wentz and that's not where they want to go either.
No, so right now Carson Wentz is a backup.
And I just don't see if J.J. McCarthy is healthy. I do not think they're going to make him sit again. I think if he is fully healthy, he is their quarterback in Minnesota.
Oh, look, I'm going to go on record as saying this. I could be wrong. I've never been really impressed with J.J. McCarthy as a college quarterback. I know people are infatuated, love this guy, and they drafted him in the first round. Great.
Yeah.
If I'm Minnesota, but this is just me, I want to have an Aaron Rodgers there. Because if JJ, I don't think JJ's an NFL quarterback. I don't believe he is. I'm not impressed with him. He's probably going to make me wrong and be an all-pro for 15 years.
He might. I just think
I never was impressed with him at Michigan. I didn't think he could throw the ball that well. I don't think he was a great passing quarterback at Michigan.
That's the thing that shocked me when I watched preseason is I know it's preseason. I'm not looking at who they playing against. I'm looking at accuracy and him throwing it. And I actually had to look at the game and say, that's J.J. McCarthy? Putting the ball on a dime, he was perfect.
And he may be. And that's
but then I looked at Michigan's offense. I said, that's not really a pro style offense.
No.
They run the ball like pros.
Right.
Now,
They
ain't
run
no
it
doubt
like
they
pro.
road grade you.
But
But their offensive passing has never been that NFL drop back. Even when Brady was there, it never was a drop back. I'm going to look downfield.
Brady was fighting. People keep forgetting that when Brady was at Michigan, he wasn't even the starter.
No, he wasn't.
He shared the starting
with the baseball guy.
With the baseball guy.
Can't think of his name now, but he was the starter, and he always battled him. But that's what I'm saying. I didn't even know Tom Brady. We can go back that far. I didn't know Tom Brady could throw the football like that until he got to New England. I didn't think much of that. They picked him in the 6th round. I didn't think he ever see any action because of Bledsoe. And we knew Drew Bledsoe can throw the football. So I wasn't thinking Tom Brady would ever see any action. But we found out who Tom Brady and his arm was once he got to an NFL team. And I think that's what happened with McCarthy. Because if anybody watched those preseason games, I did not believe that was the same guy. Because I'm with you on that. I never was impressed of him as a throwing of the football with the Michigan Wolverines. Yeah, he made a couple passes here and there, but I'm talking about consistent to be an NFL quarterback. But hey, that's what NFL scouts, NFL people, most of them, even they be wrong sometimes, but I will say this. I think they're much smarter than I am at evaluating that talent. Yeah. So they must know something. But if anybody can think back, did you ever think Tom Brady was going to be a starting quarterback at the New England?
No, I never thought that.
I didn't even know. I was surprised. I mean, he got drafted. I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I ain't seen nothing special.
For the record, it was Drew Henson.
Drew Henson, that's it.
And when Brady played for Michigan from 96 to 99, he was like initially Brian Griese's backup.
Yep.
Then he was bouncing around. As his last season, he and Drew Henson played. He was the starter, but then Drew Henson played a lot in 99. And then the other years, they were always bouncing around. Scott Dresbach was always
I remember him.
Michigan couldn't make up their mind who they wanted to be quarterback.
Right.
And it was like Brian Griese was there, so they played him. It was almost Michigan was a quarterback by committee.
Yeah, I will agree with that.
And Drew, and in 1998, Brady had 2,400 yards, 14 TDs, and 10 interceptions. He wasn't. I mean, it was such a mess. He lost the starting job to Drew Henson, though. And then it was just like that was. But Brady, when you look at his college career, it wasn't really anything.
Oh, Brady?
Yeah,
no, I wasn't. No. I mean, I watched Brady play. I didn't see nothing say, "Hey, that guy's going to be good." I didn't think anything.
No. I mean,
they got on that field.
Right. And the only reason why he did what he did is because he got with the right team. And then he had a good, back then, he was a student of the game.
Yeah.
He studied. He was, he was always in on, was a real team player. And got to know the guys.
But it showed his arm talent once he got there. I didn't know he had that.
No, I didn't know he had it either.
Mean, zip on the ball, throw I didn't think he could do it.
I didn't and he could throw hit.
And I didn't think McCarthy could. Until I seen those preseason. I'm serious. I was looking at it and said, that can't be the same guy.
Well, maybe.
They may know. That's what I say. They know more than we do.
We'll know next week. Right. Saturday Morning Sports Page. Trout Lucia, Dave Clark. Have a great, safe week. Do not drink, do not drive, and stay sober. And buckle up. Saturday Morning Sports Page.
You're listening to WRDB, Western Reserve Digital Broadcasting, Youngstown, Warren, Salem, and around the world.
Eastern on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
On the next A Numbers Game, it's the Monday morning after Selection Sunday. We go through all the brackets where the best bets in the first round are, and more importantly, perhaps for most, bracket strategy. We'll go through that here on This Morning. Plus, Wes Reynolds with all of his bracket thoughts for the big dance, not to mention Carl Sack on the NBA, basketball, and more. Plus, an update on the formula as we head into the big dance. It's A Numbers Game, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, right here at VSiN.
Unlock everything VEASAN has to offer right now for free. Go to VEASAN.com/champweek to register and join VEASAN, the sports betting network. Right now for free. Go to VEASAN.com/champweek to register and join VEASAN, the sports betting network.
Welcome to the VEASAN Weekend Morning Line with host Tim Murray on VEASAN, the sports betting network.
Hour 2 on the VEASAN Weekend Morning Line. It begins. We will have our first conference championship starting here momentarily, as I know you all have been waiting for. The America East Championship. Bryant taking on Maine. Is that game going to tip off here in just a matter of moments? And as we look at that point spread and what we've seen, it looks like it will go off with Bryant as an 8-point favorite. Line moves, we'll keep you updated on all of those. I want to run through the games that we're going to have in store today and just what the history has shown us between these teams in a lot of round robins. What was the line then? What is the line now? I think it's kind of a fun exercise to play based off of what it was and where we are now. Obviously, injuries have come into hold there, but we'll also just revisit some of the best bets from Jim Root that he threw out there, and we will get you mine as well later on in this hour. Speaking of which, Thomas Gable, we will go behind the counter as we always do here on the VEASAN Weekend Morning Line. He is the race and sportsbook director at the Borgata in Atlantic City. He will jump on the program coming up in less than 15 minutes. Chris Massero, pro bettor from San Diego, in town. Chris gets a little fired up on social media. We got to talk to him about that. He's going to join us bottom of the hour. We'll get his thoughts on today's card as well. Matt Humans in hour 2, Rob Doster in hour 2 as well. Rob down at the ACC Championship. We'll get the latest on Cooper Flagg. Obviously, Cooper Flagg, he is out for Duke today. And what does that mean for the Blue Devils? I kind of agree with what Jim just said, which is, did Duke get that scare out of their system? You were facing, and this is why, look, a lot of us at the network were on UNC, and we all got there. Now, did we feel great when it was a 20-point lead for Duke? No, we did not. But you knew that UNC was not going to go away. And what's kind of fascinating about this time of year, and Rocco Miller, by the way, who joined us and does an awesome job over at the Field of 68. He's a bracketologist, and there's so many great bracketologists out there. But he broke it down for us on VEASAN Primetime Wednesday night about how challenging it is to get teams to change their seed line. You have to file a motion inside that selection committee. So that's kind of an interesting angle. And why I bring that up is, does anything change with Louisville and Duke tonight? Does anything change with Arizona and Houston? Now, I played you the clip from Tommy Lloyd earlier in the show. I'm not anticipating Arizona to be like, we're good. These guys are competitors. Once they get out there, they know what's on the line, and they're going to want to win a championship. But my curiosity is that, did Duke get their scare? And with the talent that's on this roster, are they going to be able to take care of business already? So I do think I do agree with Duke. I do agree with Jim, I should say. Have not bet it, but Duke laying 6 is a spot that I am curious to take a look at there. Want to circle back to a best bet from Jim because I think I'm going to get in on it as well. We've got Tennessee and Auburn, a SEC semifinal coming up at 1 o'clock Eastern. And by the way, over at VEASAN.com, we always mention it. We've got Champ Week going on right now. Everything we have to offer is completely free. So you can go check out those betting splits. And this shouldn't come as a big surprise that the betting public loves them some Sparty early on in the day. 76% of bets on Michigan State, and Jim likes the 3.5 there with the Badgers. I have absolved myself from this game. We go back on our vows quite a lot here on this program. I will never bet noon Eastern games, and then I look at my card and I'm betting noon Eastern games. Now this game's at 1 o'clock Eastern, so I can bet it. I'm allowed to, but I've gone against Michigan State enough. I'm going to absolve myself from this one. But Tennessee and Auburn, this is fascinating, this game right here. So the point spread's 5.5. The betting action, we'll get more from Thomas Gable here in just a moment, is pretty much split, at least at DraftKings. 51% of bets on Auburn, 55% of the money. So a little bit more money on the Auburn Tigers. Here at Circa, 52% of bets on Tennessee, 72% of the money on the Vols. I'm going to ride with Tennessee and Rocky Top and Rick Barnes. And I know everyone's going to make their jokes about Rick Barnes and the inability of them to make deep runs in the NCAA tournament, and Tennessee's never gotten to the Final Four, yada, yada, yada. This is going to be a war today down there in Nashville. And for Auburn, as Bruce Pearl eloquently said on the SEC Network, his cards are not, how would I define it? They're not like cats. I'll just leave it like that. That's what he said. He let it slip a little bit yesterday on SEC Network. But this is a tenacious defensive team. This is the best defensive team in the country. And while John A. Broome did not play in that 53-51 win for Auburn back on January 25th, this is a spot where I just anticipate it to be a war. And I know dogs weren't barking a bit yesterday. Ole Miss was barking against Auburn. Rick Barnes talked yesterday about what you might see from this defense going in tonight.
Rick, do you expect a similar type of game the first go-around with Auburn, low-scoring kind of defense first?
I don't know. Still takes a little bit of time to wind down from this one, but great respect for Bruce. And again, you go through this season and only lose 2 games, and in this league, the way it's played out from start to finish with non-league and what the conference play was like, it'll just take a gigantic effort with everybody, like Zakai said, being locked in, because they've got a 10-deep team, an old team, experienced team, a team that's been here, won it, and they got Player of the Year in Janai Broome, but they've got a lot of pieces, and we'll have to be on top of our game.
Got the number 1 offense, number 3 defense, according to adjusted offensive and defensive efficiencies over at KenPom. By the way, St. John's is now the number 1 defense in the country. So quite the impressive year for the Johnnies, and we'll get to them and their showdown with Creighton. But I'm going to join Jim here. I'm going to take Tennessee plus the 5.5. I think this is an ugly game, and I think the Vols keep it close. I do want to hit this real quickly. I know there's a betting service, I believe, that is that just gave out Irvine plus the points, and now we've seen the market go off of 6.5 down to 5.5. So it looked like there was, I don't know if I want to call it dumbing it up, but it was a movement up, and then boop, here came a sharp group on Irvine. So the betting board has lit up, and that number is down to 5.5. I thought that move was too aggressive as well. Look, I have a UC San Diego future. I will be there in person tonight. That Big West Championship game is going to be phenomenal. And you talk about a desperate game. Neither one of these teams, even though they've got a chance as an at-large, neither one of these teams want to risk losing this game. And it's a championship. I know that's a dumb thing for me to say, but you see the market moving that way as Irvine now getting a little bit of love. Once that hits 6, the movement has come down on UC Irvine. So down to 5.5. So I might try to middle my position here or wait until in game. But I think I agreed with Jim, and now we've seen a service out there give out Irvine plus the 6, so that number down to 5.5, and that's why you're seeing the betting board light up there for that conference championship game. All right. I wanted to run through this before we hit to Thomas Gable, just kind of looking at some of these conference championship games today and what the history has been as we're underway in one conference championship game. Bryant went off as an 8-point favorite against Maine, and that run now 6-4 at the under 16 media timeout. So later on today, we will get Iona versus Mount St. Mary's. And some of these conferences, you've got the round robin nature, some you don't. This is the MAC championship. That's 2 A's, MAAC, the MAC, as Iona takes on Mount St. Mary's. Look, I've been riding the under train on these Mount St. Mary's games the last 2 contests because it's ugly, man. They just want to ugly it up. This is a Mount St. Mary's team whose best shooter broke his, I believe, wrist in the regular season finale. So Mount St. Mary's has been a bit banged up here. that all being said, the best player being, I believe, hold on, let me double check. Not their best player, but one of their top players has been sidelined here due to injuries. But this is a team that wants to ugly it up. These two teams played on February 6th. Iona went off as a 1-point favorite on the road at the Mount. And right now, that number sits as we head into the championship today. Right now, Iona is laying 4. Seems a bit rich. Total down to 133.5. What about Boise and Colorado State? Mountain West Championship game. And this number kind of ping-ponging around. Pick here at Circa, -1 in a couple other shops. And right now, Colorado State and Boise State, this should be a fun one this afternoon. Colorado State went off as a 6-point favorite, or excuse me, a 6-point dog against Boise State, and was able to win that game 83-73. So Colorado State has had some success here against Boise State as of late. Speaking of that Big West Championship, UC San Diego and UC Irvine right now market back down to 5.5 as we saw a little bit of money come in once that number hit 6. On January 8th, these two teams played in Irvine. UC San Diego won 85-67. That game was lined a pick. And then back on January 11th, the number was 5.5 in favor of UC San Diego at home, and Irvine won that game. So once again, a lot can change over 2 months, but it's worth noting this. Irvine and San Diego played each other on January 11th at UC San Diego. The number was 5.5. The number on a neutral today is 5.5. That's a pretty significant move, removing home court advantage. UC San Diego, though, of course, worth noting, the best cover team in all of college basketball. Who will the books need today? Thomas Gable from the Borgata will join us next on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
I had the worst dream last night. You were in a car crash, and the kids and I were on our own. We had to move out of the house because I couldn't afford it anymore.
It's awful, hon.
My brother was saying he got life insurance from Ethos. With Ethos, it only took 10 minutes, and he got $2 million in coverage for around $2 a day. It's all online. No medical exam. He just answered a few health questions right from his house.
Ethos, here we come.
Visit getethos.com. That's getethos.com.
Sample rate is a 10-year term life policy for 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. Billed monthly.
Ooh, ma. What was that?
That is business phone bliss with the Ooma Cloud Phone System. It handles all our voice, video, and messaging needs.
You sound very...
Calm, I am. Ooma has everything I need to handle the busy holiday season, like virtual receptionist, call routing, and video conferencing. And it starts at just $19.95 per month per user, plus taxes and fees.
Ooma.
Nice. Find your business comm at ooma.com/radio.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Hi, I'm Chuck McDowell, the timeshare cancellation guy and founder of Wesley Financial Group. And I want to set the record straight. I am not an attorney. I've never wanted to be an attorney. And the truth is, I really don't even like attorneys. If I say...
Welcome to Calvin's Barbershop.
You all got to see this.
I don't even want to know what you're looking at on that phone.
Well, you should. I was learning about the dangers of high blood pressure and that we need to get ours checked regularly. High blood pressure can increase the risk of heart attack or stroke, but this text program can help keep it at a healthy range. Just text Barbershop to 97779 to sign up.
I'll get right on it as soon as I'm done with this baby panda video.
Text Barbershop to 97779. A message from the American Heart Association and the Ad Council.
Hey, let me ask you something. Would you seat your 3-year-old child on a windowsill? Would you seat them beside a lit fireplace or by the deep end of a pool? One last question. Would you seat your child in a car seat that's not correct for them? Car crashes are a leading killer of children ages 1 to 13. Secure their future. Seat them in the correct car seat. For more information, visit safercar.gov/the-right-seat. A message from the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
This is Everett Fitzhugh, the radio voice of the NHL Seattle Kraken, and you're listening to the home of the Youngstown Phantoms, Western Reserve Radio.
Sports Betting Network.
Hello,
everybody. I'm Dave Ross here at VSiN by the Books. Join me, Jensen Lewis, 7 to 10 Eastern. We're handicapping the games to give you an edge for one of the best weeks of the betting year. Plus, we're going to recap an awesome weekend of conference tournament action, share with you the best bets we already have in pocket, and the games we're most excited to see during the big dance. Plus, the Players' Championship from TPC Sawgrass. Our VSiN contributor, Will Hill, is going to join us, and Bo Rivage, Sports Director Carl Johnson, is going to join the show to provide their expert insights. Join us. It's Sharp Week on VSiN.
You're tuned in to the VSiN Weekend Morning Line.
We keep it rolling here. It is the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. You know, it's always great. 8:15 for us here in Las Vegas, 11:15 for most of you on the East Coast, or hey, maybe you're in the Central Time Zone. If you're out on the islands, aloha. It's way early in the morning, but it's always great to have college basketball on in the AM hours. We've got the Ivy League semifinal going on right now as Yale, the prohibitive favorite in this conference tournament, they are up early on Princeton, 14-5 in the 1-4 semifinal there, and then Bryant and Maine in the America East Championship, breaking it down there this evening. All right, let's head to our progressive guest line. Always great to get the latest from behind the counter here on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line. He's been joining us the past handful of weeks. We always appreciate his insight. It is Thomas Gable from the Borgata in AC, and he is joining us once again, courtesy of the progressive guest line. I joked a little tongue inserted in my cheek here regarding the conference championship going on there in AC on the boardwalk. Are you just being bombarded by Iona and Mount St. Mary's fans this morning, Thomas?
Well, it's a shame because I touched on this with Mitch and Paulie last night a little bit. The regulations in Jersey are you can't offer Jersey schools. So the Princeton Yale game right now is obviously off the board for us because Princeton being located in New Jersey. But the other part of that regulation is you can't offer college games played in New Jersey either. So it stinks. There's literally boardwalk all right on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. You can step out of the arena there and literally be in a sports book within 2 minutes and a casino, and you can't bet on the game. So you get folks who come into town every year for that tournament. It's been held in the city for quite a few years now. And every year, people come up and they're disappointed at the counter that they can't bet their team that they're here to watch.
Well, yeah, they haven't been enjoying the unders in the Mount St. Mary's games over the past couple of days. Thomas Gable joining us here. All right, Thomas, let's get to Duke and Louisville here first. And what did you do, and how have you adjusted the line with Cooper Flagg being out? How much, in your eyes, is he worth to the point spread? And did you make any adjustments from what you saw last night from Duke to what you anticipate the line to be today? Right now, it looks like market has this one set at 6.
Yeah, and I made it 6.5, and honestly, I adjusted it with both. Flagg is obviously the key there, but having 2 key players out, but Flagg being worth the most to the number, I downgraded him 5 points without those 2, and Flagg's probably worth close to 4 himself. So. Duke obviously jumped out to a huge lead there last night. Looked like they were just going to dominate North Carolina, and Tar Heels came back, made it a game, made it interesting. Of course, that lane violation there at the end cost them. But the Blue Devils, they're still, I think, the class of the ACC even without Flagg, and you're seeing that reflected here in the line against Louisville here today. Obviously, a different team without him for sure, but they should be able to handle Louisville here even without.
Thomas, when you look at the board today, and it's early, obviously people are going to be filing in, and when those Iona fans are screaming your name and why they can't bet on their Gales, they're going to send their money on other games there at the counter. But what have you seen so far, and what do you expect today from an action standpoint? Is there a particular conference tournament that's been garnering more attention at the window?
Well, traditionally, I mean, outside of the big ones, what we call the SEC, the Big Ten, which always attract a lot of attention, in this market here, it's the Big East and the Atlantic 10 always attract a decent amount of handle. And obviously the Big East is the championship game here tonight with the Johnnies and Creighton. And yesterday was a little bit interesting because St. John's has a lot of local support here. Atlantic City draws a lot of New York folks all the time. So a lot of the clientele comes from that area. And so we always take a lot of St. John's money. But yesterday, there was a lot of respected money that came in on Marquette, taken to 4.5, and actually went off 3.5. And we obviously Johnny's ended up really making a statement there in the second half and just putting that game away. And now they're facing Creighton here, who had a nice win there against UConn. Definitely had a scare the other night against DePaul. Did not see DePaul giving them much of a fight, but man, they had a nice lead, and I really thought they were going to do it. But Creighton came out of that and escaped, and now here they are. They're in the final tonight at Madison Square Garden. But yeah, I mean, St. John's, I actually make this game closer to 7.5. It's currently sitting 6.5. Could go to 7 here, but we're seeing again mostly a lot of public money here on St. John's. And then when you get into the two Atlantic 10 games, you have VCU, who I believe certainly could win a couple NCAA tournament games this year. I think they are that good. Big 9.5-point favorites here against Loyola Chicago. That is right where I'd make that number. And then St. Joe's and George Mason, either of these two teams, and I even threw in Dayton into that mix as well. You know, VCU has a nice, because they're the number one seed, they do have a nice path here to get to the finals of the conference tournament. But whoever kind of came out on the other side of that bracket, whether it was St. Joe's, Dayton, George Mason, one of those three teams you kind of knew was going to be waiting there for VCU in the final. And we're just going to give them a game. I just, those three, I kind of have power rated very, very similarly. St. Joe's here, a small favorite, 1-point favorite against George Mason today. And honestly, if for St. Joe's, you know, obviously a local Philly school, they'll have support here. We had a lot of people on them last night as well. And this is probably Billy Lang's best team that he's had since he's been on Hawk Hill, quite honestly. They have Eric Reynolds there, the senior guard, who's providing a lot of leadership. He's just became the all-time leading scorer there for St. Joe's. He passed Jameer Nelson a couple games ago. Xavier Brown, another guard who they really have a nice backcourt there. And they play some very good defense for Lang. And, you know, Lang's, I think, been there maybe 5-6 years already after taking over for Phil Martelli when they got rid of Martelli. But I think this game is right where it should be. It should be another close game here between these two schools. So St. Joe's very short favorite here in the second half there of the semifinal for the Atlantic 10.
Yeah, we'll get to my best bets a little bit later on, Thomas. But I like St. Joe's here in this spot. I think George Mason has been, and I was impressed by their second half performance yesterday against GW. But I think they're a bit fraudulent based off of their record. I think people might just look at the record and say George Mason should win this game. And like you alluded, when they played in Fairfax, Virginia, back in the middle of February, that was a spot I took the Hawks, and they should have won that game, and they blew it late in that one back in the middle of February. Thomas Gable joining us here. By the way, breaking news from the college basketball world as Kyle Neptune, the head coach of Villanova, according to multiple reports, has been relieved of his duties. So speaking of which, big Philadelphia news there. Before we let you run, Thomas, as you look at the rest of the board and you have your numbers out there, anything that you've taken to the window yourself from a bet standpoint?
This Boise State, Colorado State game I have been looking at. I really want to take a point here with Colorado State because I actually make them 2-point favorites. So probably going to end up there on Colorado State tonight.
Yeah, that's an interesting one because both myself and Jonathan Von Tobel, we just talked to Jim Root, Thomas, on this game. And Colorado State, when you look at recent form, They've been the best team in the Mountain West for the past month or so, just based off of some of the advanced numbers. But when you've got the future in your back pocket, you've always got that decision. All right, what do I do here? Do I get off of it a little bit in order to lock in profit? How do we do it? So I've got a decision to make here. But I like the fact that I've heard from you and Jim Root, who are both of the mindset that you like the matchup of Colorado State and Boise State. All right, final one for me to you before we get out of here. Houston and Arizona. We got about 45 seconds, Thomas. What have we seen on this one?
It's right about where it should be at this point. I make this team 7. It's been some decent Houston money. I think Arizona caught Texas Tech at a nice time for them last night without McMillan and Williams, and Texas Tech is a team that needs to get healthy for the tournament, and Arizona was fortunate to catch them when they did. Obviously, they were able to get by them, but this Houston team, I think you saw just how good they are defensively. I mean, BYU didn't even score a point until like 6-7 minutes into that game last night.
Yeah, that was quite impressive considering that team just put up 96 on Iowa State less than 24 hours prior. Thomas, always appreciate the insight. Come next week, baby. We're going to have a bracket to break down, so looking forward to that.
Very much. All right. Have fun this weekend, and good luck.
There it is. Thomas Gable from the Borgata in AC. More college hoop chatter on the VSiN Weekend Morning Line next.
To get you ready for March Mania, VSiN is offering a free pro preview during Championship Week. Get everything VSiN has to offer, including daily pro picks straight to your inbox, betting splits from both Circa Sports and DraftKings Sportsbook, and access to the VSiN Watch app.
Allison is perfect. I mean, she'd never tell you that. She's humble and perfect. She likes everyone. She even likes her untidy roommate's weird guinea pig. Allison, wait, are you texting and driving? Allison, no. That's the exact opposite of what I was just saying about you. Why, Allison? Why? Texting and driving makes good people look bad. Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
I'm Paul George of the Indiana Pacers. When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke. So I want you to learn to spot a stroke fast. F-A-S-T. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. I'm Paul George. Spot a stroke fast. Visit strokeassociation.org. Brought to you by the American Stroke Association and the Ad Council.
My name is Lola Silvestri, and I'm going to be 95 this year. I was very independent. I fell, and I had to have Meals on Wheels. America, let's do lunch.
1 in 6 seniors faces the threat of hunger, and millions more live in isolation. Drop off a hot meal and say a quick hello. Volunteer for Meals on Wheels by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org. This message brought to you by Meals on Wheels America and the Ad Council.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter, Brooklyn, was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.